Yi Wuque, originally with unparalleled talent and stunning talent, was willing to be extinguished for the sake of the mystery of his background. He disguised himself as a waste and condensed the source of the holy method of fighting for a full 10 years. Now that the 10-year period has expired, the true dragon has returned. A path of invincibility that crushes countless supernatural talents, destroys various royal and divine bodies, and tears apart the myths of the heavens, causing the world to tremble, has begun here. You said you have invincible qualifications. Your intelligence is against the sky. Your bloodline is noble. Sorry, who should you compare to? Compared to me, you will cry. The god of war rose up and raced all the way. Keywords of the novel. God of War Racing No Pop-Ups, God of War Racing TXT Complete Collection Download, God of War Racing Latest Chapter Reading. Chapter 1. 10 Years of Silence. Yi Wuqi. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. 10 Years of Silence. Yi Wuqian Bang, hum. The fluctuation of elemental strength was pervasive, with the sound of explosive punches and flying debris. Yi Wuque was hit in the chest with a punch, and his figure retreated 3 zhang before finally stopping. However, at the age of 14 or 15, the young man had fair skin and a handsome appearance, especially his naturally bright eyes, adding a strange charm to his still youthful face. At this moment, Yi Wuque was slightly embarrassed, his black hair draped over his martial arts shirt fluttering, and he didn't look at the opponent on the stage who defeated him with just 3 moves. Instead, he closed his eyes and remained expressionless, seemingly immersed in his own world. Yi Wuqi, eliminate. Murong Hai, win, enter the next round. With the sound coming from behind the huge martial arts stage, Murong Hai, standing on the stage, jumped off the stage with a scarred face and a burly figure. He was 18 years old. With a proud expression on his face, Murong Hai's gaze swept over Yi Wuqi with tightly closed eyes. The pleasure and contempt in it were not concealed. As he walked past Yi Wuqi, he suddenly smiled lightly. Yi Wuqi, I really admire you a bit. It's been 10 years, have you ever counted how many times you've lost? Oh, by the way, I forgot. You're such a useless person who probably forgot even what victory feels like. Hee, you're such a garbage. Fei Wuque's first battle was unexpectedly turned into a team with Murong Hai, he deserved his misfortune. Defeated without any flaws in the 3 moves, TSK, how weak. Alas, in the past 10 years, countless battles have never been won, and there have been repeated defeats and battles. What a strange thing. Surrounding the left side of the huge martial arts arena, there were about 100 young boys and girls who were only 11 or 12 years old, dressed in well-tailored light blue military uniforms. Each young face shone brightly and vigorously, like the sun rising just in the morning. All of this, Yi Wuqi, who had closed his eyes, seemed to have become accustomed to it, but no one knew. At this moment, his body was undergoing earth-shattering changes. This change, even though Yi Wuqi, who had been silent for 10 years, had his heart refined like iron, and his will polished through, even trembled slightly. His heart was stirred like a tide, and the palpitations from the depths of his soul grew stronger and stronger. He wished he could howl in the sky. The Emperor does not disappoint those who have a heart. After 10 years of silence, I have finally succeeded in fulfilling my wish today. Bing Lan, I'm 1 step ahead, don't fall behind. Murong Hai, who had already turned into a bright smiling face, arrived at the stone bench on the right side of the martial arts arena where dozens of young strong men were sitting, and smiled at the young girl sitting at the forefront. With his arrival, Dao Dao's war-torn and fiery gaze focused on him, and many powerful fluctuations swept through him, all belonging to the young and powerful generation of the Murong family sitting here. Murong Hai, are you happy to win over Yi Wuqi, that useless person? Your strength has indeed grown rapidly, breaking through to the 8th level of forging, but compared to Tiangang, you are still far behind. A slightly chilly voice of a daughter rang out, coming from the girl known as the Ice Orchid by Murong Hai. Although she sat upright on a stone bench, her slender legs coiled together formed a seductive curve. She was wearing a red-fitted silk dress, adorned with flower embroidery on her chest. Her small waist, which was held tightly, stood straight, and her pointed chin was a pair of extremely beautiful phoenix eyes. Her cheong nose was straight, and her rosy lips were extremely beautiful. After hearing Bing Lan's words, Murong Hai's smile froze, and a strong sense of fear and jealousy flashed in his eyes. He chuckled but stopped speaking and walked to his stone bench, sitting with his eyes closed. And the young powerhouses sitting behind Murong Binglan, upon hearing the words Tiangang, almost simultaneously showed a hint of envy and admiration on their faces. Next, Murong Binglan will face Murong Jie. At the same time, a man's voice full of vitality came from behind the martial arts stage. As soon as the voice was heard, the entire martial arts arena suddenly fell silent, because it belonged to the head of the Murong family, Murong Chongqing. Xiao, two young figures suddenly jumped up from the stone bench and rushed towards the martial arts performance stage. A fragrant breeze swept over them, and Murong Binglan stood gracefully on the 50 zhang long and wide martial arts arena. Across from her stood a young man of average appearance. His gaze swept over Murong Binglan's face, flashing a hint of intoxication and love. Murong Binglan, one of the Murong Shuangshu. With impressive aptitude, beautiful appearance, and a cold and charming temperament, Murong Jie was the goddess in the hearts of many Murong children. Looking at the beauty in front of him, Murong Jie even felt a bit awkward and nervous. Wuqi, who had previously stood on the martial arts arena with his eyes tightly closed, now opened his eyes. With a strong willpower honed over the past decade, he controlled his emotions very well. His eyes remained calm as usual. He looked at the two standing in the audience and walked straight down from the arena. However, Murong Binglan's gaze swept over him, but there was a deep sense of humiliation and disgust hidden in it. Start. Bang, bang, Murong Binglan and Murong Jie engaged in a great war. Although Wuque's heart was still stirring as he walked down from the martial arts arena, he slowly walked to the position behind the arena and bowed to one of the 10 figures sitting there. Uncle Chongqing, let's take a step first and go back to practice. The boy's voice was clear and melodious, as if the recent defeat had not cast any shadow on him. Well, without any shortage, you can go back first. There was a hint of complexity in Murong Chongqing's eyes. The handsome young man standing with an arched hand in front of him was so stunning 10 years ago. Although Wuque did not come from the Murong family, since the person entrusted him, who was only 4 years old, to the Murong family 11 years ago and left behind such a thing, Murong Chongqing did not regard Wuque as an outsider, and even realized that his cultivation talent could be considered a demon. At the age of 4, he practiced the top-notch martial art of the Murong family, Haotian strength. At the age of 5, he broke through to the 5 heavens of forging body, and even defeated one of the 5 super sects of the northern heavenly domain, a peerless genius of the same age as the Qingming temple, who came from afar that year. This news is like a stone stirring up 1,000 waves. What is the concept of 5 years old, forging 5 layers of heaven? When cultivators embark on the path of cultivation, the first great realm is the forging body realm, which is divided into 10 levels of heaven. It involves beating and boiling the flesh, condensing qi and blood, corresponding to skin, flesh, tendons, bones, and marrow. At the age of 10, most people break through the first level of physical fitness and achieve a small level of skin refining, which is called a genius. If they can break through to the 3rd level of physical fitness and achieve a small level of meat refining at the age of 10, this is a rare genius in 100 years. This once-century genius, as one of the top 100 main cities in the northern heavenly domain and the eastern land, the 3 major families of the dragon-like main city in the Murong family have only produced one for several generations. That is Murong Tian, who has entered the Murong forbidden area for cultivation and is about to leave the level. Murong Tian, who broke through the triple heaven of physical fitness at the age of 10, is known as a rare genius in 100 years. What should Wuque, who was only 5 years old and had not yet formed his qi and blood in his body before breaking through the 5 levels of forging and reaching the realm of refining tendons, be considered? Murong Changqing originally thought that heaven would bless the Murong family and bring about such 2 geniuses in this generation, but it was only after Wuqi, who was 5 years old, defeated the peerless genius from the Qingming temple that he had no progress in 10 years. For 10 years, Wuque remained at the level of forging the 5 heavenly heavens and stopping at the stunning realm of his talent when he was 5 years old. Murong Changqing tried countless methods to find the cause, but only one result was obtained. The body's qi and blood inexplicably deplete, no longer suitable for cultivation. Heaven envies talents, nothing more than that. After Murong Changqing had to give up, Wuque chose to continue his cultivation. He seemed unaffected at all and continued to practice with perseverance and hard work. However, in the eyes of outsiders, Wuque couldn't bear to fall to the bottom and was frantically trying to restore his genius glory. They believe that Wuque is already insane. Abandoned without deficiency, has become his alias. Just as Wuque was preparing to leave the martial arts stage, a towering wave quickly struck from far to near. Whoosh, the powerful elemental power surges all over the body, and the newcomer is tall and looks only 17 or 18 years old. The skin, flesh, tendons, bones, and marrow on all sides of the body have been thoroughly trained. Qi and blood have already fully integrated with the elemental power, indistinguishable from each other. The swirling white elemental power is filled with a huge force. Wuqi could clearly see a pale silver crescent moon dancing behind this person, standing at the same height as the person. Although it was blurry and unstable, it emitted a strong aura. The white elemental strength slowly dissipated, and this person was dressed in a white martial arts shirt hunting in the wind. His black hair was styled into a bun, meticulously combed, and his whole body was free from dust. He was handsome and had an excellent appearance. Oh my goodness! It's Murong Tian. Murong Tian has passed the level. His aura. Did he really break through the realm of physical fitness? Hiss. That's Soul Moon. At such an age and with such cultivation, he is indeed the first young person in the Murong family. The entire martial arts arena immediately exploded with the appearance of Murong Tian, and countless shocked voices echoed. Especially the young disciples who were sitting on stone benches, and Murong Tian's age showed bitterness and helplessness on their faces. Murong Hai, who had been shining brightly a moment ago, was now speechless. Murong Tian, at this moment, everyone's attention was focused, and he was the center of the light. The 2 of them who were fighting on the martial arts stage also stopped at this moment, and Murong Binglan's wonderful eyes were fixed on Murong Tian, shining brightly. Haha! God bless my Murong family. Tianer, you have finally gathered the soul moon and stepped onto the first realm of washing the mortal world, the English soul realm. 17-year-old English soul realm. Great! Great! At this moment, an old man sitting next to Murong Changqing suddenly stood up and smiled up. The old man had an ordinary appearance and emitted a hazy smell, but at this moment, he laughed extremely happily. The 3rd elder of the Murong family, Murong Baishar, is also the grandfather of Murong Tian. Murong Tian has met the head of the family and all the elders. With a faint expression, Murong Tian's face remained calm, but there was a hint of innate pride in his tone. Tianer, you don't need to be too polite. You successfully condensed the soul moon and entered the realm of washing the mortal world at the age of 17. At this age, you are also among the top 3 in the 200 years of inheritance in our Murong family. Murong Changqing was equally happy in his heart. As a descendant of the Murong family, Murong Tian's excellence undoubtedly led to the addition of another master to the Murong family in the following years. Yeah. Tianer is a genius that is rare in 100 years. I have lived for 60 years, and only a genius like Tian'r can be seen in my life. Reward. Master, the sky is so excellent, it's worth rewarding. Upon hearing the praises of other elders, Murong felt even more proud and passionate in his heart. His grandson was so outstanding, he really had a long face. Wuqi stood behind Murong Tian and still hadn't left. His gaze swept over the pale silver crescent moon, revealing a strange light, and his thoughts surged in his heart. Is this the symbol of washing the mortal realm, the soul moon? It is indeed unique. Suppressing his thoughts and feeling the earth-shattering changes in his body, Wuqi was preparing to leave. He had something extremely important to confirm. This is the fate he gained from 10 years of silence. Today, I finally achieved my wish. Master, Murong Tian has something to ask for. Murong Tian spoke calmly again. As soon as the words fell, Murong Binglan's beautiful eyes lit up on the martial arts stage, as if she had thought of something. Her heart was overjoyed, and her eyes swept over Wuque, who was about to leave, filled with disgust and relief. Oh! I once promised you that as long as you can break through to the state of washing the mortal world in this seclusion, I will agree to 2 requests from you. Now that you have indeed achieved them, so, my goodness, if you have any requests, feel free to speak up. It seemed that he knew what Murong Tian was thinking, and Murong Changqing immediately smiled. Murong Tian, who received recognition from Murong Changqing, suddenly turned his gaze and looked indifferently at Wuqi, who was about to leave, like a 9-day dragon overlooking ants. The first thing Murong Tian'ai did was to speak on behalf of Bing Lan and plead with the family head to retract Bing Lan's engagement with Wuqi, as he was not worthy. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone was shocked. Only a few sounds of gasping air could be heard around, and many Murong's children were momentarily stunned and then suddenly appeared on their faces. With a gust of fragrant breeze, Murong Binglan swept down the martial arts stage like a fiery red butterfly, stood next to Murong Tian, raised her delicate chin, and coldly said, "Dad, Binglan doesn't want to marry Wuqi. Please take it back, Dad. Binglan can't marry a useless person." The voice of Leng Yan's daughter spread all around, instantly falling into the ears of Murong Changtian and the 5 elders sitting together, and even more clearly reaching the ears of every Murong's children. At the same time, Wuque, who also heard the words of Murong Tian and Murong Binglan, also paused at his feet. This scene fell in the eyes of Murong's children, instantly filling their minds with Wuque's sadness and unwillingness. Part of the gaze projected on Wuque was full of sympathy and pity, but more of it was a sense of mockery from watching good plays. Sure enough, Wuqi quickly turned around. Just anticipating that the twisted face did not appear, replaced by a relaxed smile. Wuqi's handsome face was filled with a smile, and he clenched his fists and said loudly, "Uncle Changqing, Wuqi has long rejected your engagement. It happens to be today, so you can accept it." Wuqi is extremely grateful. Dozens of extremely unexpected doubts rang out again, countless calculations. The Murong children present had imagined various situations of sadness, unwillingness, madness, and humiliation, but none of them had expected Wuqi to answer like this, and it seemed to be genuinely happy. Upon hearing Wuqi's answer, Murong Binglangdun felt a sense of darkness before her eyes, almost unable to stand firm. A strong sense of shame instantly filled her heart. Murong Tian also raised his eyebrows, obviously Wuqi's answer was also beyond his expectations. However, Murong Tian's mind was not bad, and his gaze remained indifferent. He didn't wait for Murong Changqing's answer before speaking again. "The second thing is to earnestly request the master to give me the blood dragon jade. Wuque is not qualified to possess this item." This sentence echoed word by word in Wuqi's ear, and his smiling face gradually restrained. A chilling chill flashed through his calm eyes. Blood dragon jade, besides the unopened letter, is the only thing that Fubo left for him. It is currently under the custody of Murong Chongqing and carries the deepest longing in Yi Wuque's heart for the past 11 years. It is a precious thing that he has been longing for and has no connection to the Murong family. In other words, this originally belonged to Yi Wuxiao. And now, Murong Tian is going to grab it. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. After a month, dare to fight. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. After a month, dare to fight. Yi Wuqi's eyes closed slightly, despite the rising anger in his heart, and despite the various ridicules made by Murong's children over the past decade, he still had feelings for the Murong family and respected the middle-aged man he called Uncle Chongqing. After all, this is where he grew up. He waited quietly, waiting for the decision from Murong Chongqing. Murong Tian earnestly requests the head of the family to agree to these two requests. The entire martial arts arena fell into silence, even the several elders of the Murong family remained silent for a moment. Only Murong Baisher squinted his eyes and scanned Yi Wuqi, wondering what was on his mind. After 2 consecutive requests were abandoned, Murong Tian stopped speaking and his face remained calm. He quietly looked at Murong Chongqing, whose face had slightly changed. The soul moon behind him was floating and sinking, invisibly demonstrating his confidence in saying these 3 words. Yi Wuque. Even this garbage that has been abandoned for 10 years deserves to have blood dragon jade. I, Murong Genius, am the owner of this jade. I, Murong Genius, deserve to have this amazing thing that can make cultivators in the washing world soar to the sky. With a sense of pride and madness in his heart, Murong Tian, who seemed indifferent, also became emotionally charged at this moment. Blood dragon jade, he had been looking forward to it for too long. Blood dragon jade, blood dragon swallows the moon. This jade can allow cultivators to achieve an unexpected creation in the realm of washing the mortal world. Murong Chongqing felt a slight bitterness at this moment. The information about blood dragon jade was left by that person, for Yi Wuque. Blood dragon jade is not something belonging to the Murong family. It was originally returned to Yi Wuque when he stepped into the realm of washing the mortal world. However, no one expected that Yi Wuque would be deposed. I see, blood dragon jade. Tian'er is here for blood dragon jade. No wonder he made a bet with me before he closed down this time. It turns out he is already confident in gathering soul moon. Sigh, it would be great if this blood dragon jade were really from my Murong family, but Murong Chongqing, who has always been decisive, became somewhat conflicted for a moment. After a moment, he stood up from the stone pedestal with an expressionless expression, his gaze brushing over Murong Tian, and once again fixed on Yi Wuqi's face, complex and inexplicable. My engagement with Binglan has long been begged by Yi Wuque in private to retract it. This engagement was originally a joke, but today I announce that Yi Wuque's engagement with Murong Binglan has been abandoned. From now on, no one needs to mention it again. A low voice rang out from Murong Chongqian's mouth, which was not surprising to everyone's expectations. However, only Murong Binglan's delicate body trembled at the moment, and Bei's teeth almost pierced her rosy lips. A sense of relief flashed in her eyes, but more was humiliation and resentment towards Yi Wuqi, with no trace of joy. As for the blood dragon jade you are seeking, Tian'er. Murong Chongqing's words suddenly came to a halt, as deep as Murong Tian's nervousness at this moment. He looked at Murong Chongqing, and his longing in his heart almost reached its peak. The gaze of Murong's children on the entire martial arts arena now completely converged on Murong Chongqing's face. The existence of blood dragon jade in the Murong family is not a secret, but they are not very clear about its specific function. But it's not important. What's important is that Murong's children know that blood dragon jade originally belonged to Yi Wuque, but now Murong Tian is demanding it. In this way, how Murong Chongqing will ultimately make a decision will affect everyone's nerves. Although it touched everyone's nerves, Murong Chongqing's slightly weathered eyes remained motionless, just continuing to speak quietly. Tian'er, at the age of 17, you gathered your soul moon and stepped into the realm of washing the mortal world. You have excellent qualifications and are the pride of my Murong family. Before your seclusion this time, I promised you 2 requirements as long as you break through. Since you did not disappoint, I will naturally abide by the agreement. As soon as he spoke, Yi Wuqi's previously released palm quietly clenched tightly, and his fingers and joints were even pinched white with too much force. His heart suddenly sank at this moment, and an inexplicable negative emotion surged up. A faint golden light appeared in the depths of his slightly closed eyes. The corners of his mouth curled up, Murong Tian's eyes lit up, and his excitement overflowed in his heart. Blood Dragon Jade, his desire was finally coming true, but Murong Baisher, who was sitting beside Murong Changqing, had a hint of doubt on his old face. Yi Wuqi's expression fell completely into Murong Changqing's eyes. He could clearly feel a strong negative aura rising from the young man who was only 15 years old. He smiled silently in his heart and said, "This stinky kid, I thought he really wouldn't get angry." Just as everyone's gaze turned into pity, sympathy, and ridicule, disdainful projection onto Yi Wuqi, a resolute voice suddenly broke the silence. It was from Murong Changqing. "But my goodness, it's a pity that the true owner of the Blood Dragon Jade is none other than me. It's not my Murong family's property in the first place, I'm just taking care of it, so even if it's me, I don't have the right to distribute this jade. The ownership of the Blood Dragon Jade depends on none. So, your request is not that I won't agree to you, but that I can't agree to you at all." Hu Yiwuk's body, originally filled with a strong sadness in her heart, trembled, then slowly relaxed and let out a deep breath. She lowered her face slightly and lifted it gently. A warm smile surged back into her naturally bright eyes. Murong Changqing's sudden change of voice shocked the entire Murong children in the martial arts arena, almost unable to believe their ears. For the sake of being a waste, the head of the family actually refused the top genius in the family. "Master, you refused my plea for the sake of Yi Wuqi, a useless person. I, Murong Tian, am not satisfied with this matter." Murong Tian, who was originally in control of the victory, had a sharp expression on his face, his eyes slightly narrowed, and his voice had a hint of anger. The newly formed soul moon behind him leaped and danced, indicating the unease in his heart. Murong Baisher, who had been sitting still, saw that Murong Changqing had rejected his grandson. His dry facial muscles twitched and he suddenly spoke, "Oh my God! You must be impolite." Immediately, he also stood up and smiled at Murong Changqing, saying, "Master, Tian'er is not yet 18 years old and speaks without propriety. Please forgive me, Master." The third elder has spoken seriously. Tian'er is a genius of my Murong family, and there must be something extraordinary about a genius. How could I care? Following Murong Baisher's words, Murong Changqing smiled leisurely. Seeing this scene, Murong Baisher didn't take it seriously either. He glanced at his beloved grandson, who had previously shown a hint of anger and disappeared without a trace, restoring his previous indifference. With a satisfied smile in his heart, Murong Baisher turned his gaze away from Yi Wuque and said to Murong Changqing again, "The Blood Dragon Jade is of great importance. Now Wuque cannot cultivate it. If he returns the Blood Dragon Jade to him at the age of 18, it may not be a good thing for him." It seems that Murong Baisher and Murong Tian have been coveting Blood Dragon Jade for a long time. Yi Wuque looked at Murong Baisher expressionlessly, his heart moving. Murong Baisher saw that Murong Changqing was silent and spoke again, "Master, I have always believed that without corresponding strength, one is not qualified to have some things. Now, Wuque is only in the 5 heavens of forging body. The Blood Dragon Jade is not only a blessing but also a disaster for him, and it may even bring about fatal consequences." A solemn atmosphere echoed with Murong Baisher's words, and Murong Changqing's expression also changed. The 3 elders are right. It would be more appropriate to hand over the Blood Dragon Jade to Tian'er. That's right, even if Blood Dragon Jade was given to Yi Wuque, he couldn't keep it. In the world, people's hearts are treacherous, and I also believe that this jade should be handed over to Tian'r. The elders of the Murong family sitting upright on the stone pedestal finally spoke up at this moment. Enough. I have decided on this matter in the name of the head of the family. The blood dragon jade belongs to Yi Wuqi, and no one can bring it up again. Murong Changqing's face lit up and he let out a deep drink. Seeing Murong Changqing say so, Murong Baisher's face moved and he held down his anger, taking a deep look at Murong Tian. The eyes of the grandparents and grandchildren met, and Murong Tian's heart suddenly flashed like a lightning bolt. In Yi Wuqi's gaze, Murong Tian suddenly turned around and a pair of indifferent eyes fell on him. Yi Wuqi couldn't help but avoid it, and his calm eyes also looked at him. Yi Wuqi, what if the blood dragon jade belongs to you? Now, what do you want to get it from? By the grace of the master. Even if you get it, what if you do? Why do you have the ability to protect it? Do you have this ability? Forging the five heavens body. In my Murong Tian's opinion, such cultivation doesn't even qualify me to lift shoes. Yi Wuque. Murong Tian has the ability to defend the blood dragon jade. Do you have this ability? If you have it, why not prove it for everyone to see? The extremely cold words echoed from Murong Tian's mouth one after another, and in an instant, they spread throughout the entire martial arts arena, and also clearly reached Yi Wuqi's ears. Yes. No one is qualified to own the blood dragon jade without any deficiency. Murong genius is the genius of our Murong family. If the Murong family wants to prosper, they have to rely on Murong's talent. Fei Wuqi not only cultivates Fei, but also opposes Murong Tian. I don't know what's good or bad about being useless or lacking. Countless small voices buzzed incessantly, and the Murong children present couldn't help but discuss. Upon seeing this, Murong Baisher chuckled inwardly, and Murong Tian's mouth curved slightly. Murong Changqing's face slightly changed. How could he not understand Murong Tian's intentions? Exciting general. What does the phrase, prove to everyone, mean when Murong Tian is inciting Yi Wuqi? Isn't it because Murong Tian wants to provoke Yi Wuqi to fight against Yi? Stinky kid, you need to calm down. For Murong Tian's actions, Murong Changqing could no longer resist them. Although he was very kind to Yi Wuqi, the premise was that he was still the head of the Murong family. But Murong Tian is the future of the Murong family. Yi Wuqi, if you endure it, you will be despised by the entire Murong children. If you are provoked by me, then I will let you know what despair is. Thoughts churned in his heart, and Murong Tian closely watched Yi Wuqi. He wants to see how Yi Wuqi chooses. Feeling the gaze cast from all directions and the questioning of Murong Tianzi like a knife, Yi Wuqi smiled in silence. The young and handsome face is full of smiles, but this smile hides a seemingly dusty sharpness. Slowly reaching out his hands, Yi Wuqi's gaze became deep. His fingers closed and he slowly clenched into a fist, muttering to himself, even if you're a fierce general, what's wrong? You ultimately need to protect your own things. Black long hair fluttered in the wind, and in the moment of clenching his fists, a magnificent and surging momentum emerged from Yi Wuque's body. This was not from the fluctuation of cultivation, but from the powerful power of his will and soul. Murong Tian. If that's the case, then as you wish, will you dare to fight in a month? If I lose, blood dragon jade will give way. If I win, from now on, as long as you see me, you just go around, say, and walk. The rebellious words suddenly rang out from the mouth of this young man who had been silent for 10 years, like a sword that had been sheathed for 10 years, finally showing its unparalleled sharpness once again today. Yi Wuqi's words were like a raging wind passing through, instantly spreading throughout the entire martial arts arena. The Murong children present thought they had heard wrong and almost instinctively dug out their own ears. Shocked, amazed, and incredulous expressions clearly appeared on the faces of every Murong son. I didn't hear you wrong, did I? Fei Wuqi invited Murong Tian to battle. Do you dare to fight in a month's time? Is this, and Fei Wuqi crazy? TSK. I really admire the courage of Fei Wuqi now. Murong Hai's face changed and he immediately sneered. Murong Binglan's delicate pretty face was cold and icy, and she made a decision in her heart. Yi Wuquai's words also surprised Murong Tian. He thought that under his urging, Yi Wuquai could either swallow his anger or turn around and leave, but he never expected Yi Wuquai to dare to invite him to battle. After a month. Dare to fight. Okay. Yi Wuqi. You still have some blood. Since you have spoken, I will treat you as the so-called dignity in your heart. After a month, I will still be here. Murong Tian will fight you. Although the occurrence of the incident exceeded Murong Tian's expectations, the outcome was even better than he had anticipated. Yi Wuque, you can't blame me for seeking death on your own. Blood Dragon Jade, I Murong Tianji will definitely win it. Uncle Chongqing, please bear witness to this matter. Thank you very much, and I will leave first. The boy, who had regained his calmness like water, bowed to the complex-looking Murong Chongqing, then stopped and turned away, leaving everyone with a familiar yet unfamiliar and rebellious figure. Buzz Yi Wuque, who quickly disappeared from the martial arts arena, suddenly turned red with a terrifying high temperature all over his body. At this moment, he could hardly suppress the astonishing changes from within. End of this chapter. 3. Chapter 3 Holy Fist of Fighting explodes Murong Hai with 3 fists. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 3 Holy Fist of Fighting explodes Murong Hai with 3 fists. Hot. This is Yi Wuqi's only feeling at this moment. In a simple cabin, Yi Wuqi struggled to maintain a sitting position, his whole body scorching hot, and his originally fair skin had already turned red. Beads of sweat as big as beans kept flowing, but in an instant, they were all rapidly evaporated by the terrifying temperature. With his eyes tightly closed and his eyebrows furrowed slightly, although his face remained expressionless, it was not difficult to see from the tightly clenched cheek that Yi Wuqi seemed to be enduring immense pain at this moment. Buzz, wow! The roaring sound of the road, like a surging river, emanates from Yi Wuqi's body. If you look closely, you will find that every inch of Yi Wuqi's skin is gently wriggling. It seems that within him, there is a powerful force surging recklessly. Blood and flesh seem to be crazily torn apart by brute force. The divine soul seems to be constantly curled and scraped by the cold blade. Although 2 immense pains were constantly invading Yi Wuqi's nerves, the will that had already been polished for 10 years made this young man, who was only 15 years old, persevere hard. And under this pain, Yi Wuqi still maintained a clear consciousness. My body seems to be undergoing tremendous changes. This change is the source of the holy law that I have obtained from my 10 years of silence. Dong dong dong, like a thunderous explosion from within, Yi Wuqi's body suddenly shook as he sat cross-legged, accompanied by a violent tremor. The originally small peristalsis on his body's surface also increased several times at this moment. Pain. The pain that penetrated deep into the bone marrow and soul instantly overwhelmed Yi Wuqi's nerves, as if he felt like he was in the center of 10 erupting volcanoes. Burning, tearing, and scraping all kinds of pain that were several times more unbearable than before, and could not be expressed in words, even if the willpower was as strong as Yi Wuque, it was almost unbearable at this moment. The physical perception gradually becomes numb, and the clear consciousness gradually blurs. It seems that in the next moment, Yi Wuqi will completely faint and never wake up again. Hold on to me. Hold on to me. You can't faint. You must not faint. A silent howl echoed in his heart, sweat had already soaked all over his body. Although his eyes were pitch black, his ears roared incessantly, and a strong pain like a tide swept through his nerves. A breath is like eternity, Yi Wuque almost desires to become crazy. Roaming and rumbling, wow. The roaring sound of rivers, lakes, and seas was even more intense. The muscles on the surface of the body were already twisted, and the thick muscles and veins inside the body were bulging, clearly visible like ferocious snakes. The pain has reached its limit. Endurance has reached its limit. But Wuqi still perseveres to the death. Even if it's death, never give up. No one knows how terrifying the obsession in this young man's heart was. It seemed resilient and unyielding, but in fact, it was already a kind of paranoia that was almost crazy. Sigh, at this critical moment of life and death, a sigh from the depths of Wuqi's mind sounded softly. This sigh seemed to be mixed with a pervasive loneliness, and also carried a hint of confusion that seemed to be awakened from a deep sleep. Buzz, a golden light flashed behind Wuque's head as he sat cross-legged. At this moment, Wuque, whose consciousness had dried up and blurred, suddenly felt a refreshing sensation, as if the dry and cracked earth had once again received nourishment from the heavenly rain. Buzz, the blurry consciousness woke up again under the sudden coolness. Originally pitch black, Wuqi, who could only rely on perception, suddenly felt a bright light, and then everything changed. Are these my internal organs? Is this what my body looks like inside? What appeared before Wuqi was a strange scene. The beating heart, the complex and orderly muscles and veins, the wriggling stomach, like the kidneys of two furnaces, the shiny liver, all bring endless novelty to Wuque. Scream, rumble, at this moment, Wuqi finally saw the constant roar coming from inside his body. These sounds belong to the most important foundational qi and blood of cultivators. If Murong Chongqing could see this scene, he would surely be incredulous, because in Wuqi's body, it was the inexplicably dried-up qi and blood that flowed rapidly. Wuque, who was in a strange state, seemed not surprised by the existence of his own qi and blood. At this moment, his attention was completely attracted by a brilliant light mass 3 inches below his navel. The source of the holy law. This is the source of the holy law that I have been practicing hard for 10 years. Lock in my qi and blood, irrigate the source. The emperor does not disappoint those who have intentions. Finally succeeded. Ha ha ha, I finally succeeded in condensing it. A huge surprise filled Wuqi, and the soaring and brilliant light cluster in his divine soul seemed to be as grand, majestic, and grand as a star, and even faintly filled with a powerful and extreme sense of war. The pain continued, but under the extreme perseverance of Wuqi and the slow coolness in his mind, it was much better than his previous dying situation. After successfully consolidating the source of the holy law, Wuque began to shift his perspective and carefully examine the situation inside his body. However, everything in front of him shook Wuqi's heart. Gold, light gold. The originally bright red qi and blood somehow stained a faint golden light. The qi and blood stained with gold and red. How could this be possible? What exactly happened? The huge confusion left Wuqi puzzled. His gaze traced back in the direction of blood and energy, until it reached the golden light ball. Because all qi and blood surge out from the source of the holy law. For the past decade, all of my qi and blood have been tightly locked in the elixir field, used to nourish the source of the holy law, without any leakage. Now that I have achieved success, my qi and blood have changed. Is all of this caused by the source of the holy law? At the same time as drawing this conclusion, Wuqi also understood the source of the severe pain. The source of the holy law has been successfully condensed, and the qi and blood that have already merged with the source need to rush out of the dantian to reach the final step. This process is like peeling the skin and bones, tearing and living, and the pain is boundless. It is also within the body, and cannot be seen by the eyes. It is not something that ordinary people can tolerate. Buzzing, as if in an instant, as if eternity had passed, all the qi and blood locked in the elixir finally burst out, returning to the physical body, vast and overwhelming, engulfing the 5 organs, bones, and blood vessels. In an instant, Wuque felt as if he had returned to the time of practicing at the age of 5. The golden and red qi and blood are incredibly vigorous, surging endlessly, which is the beginning of a practitioner's strength. Buzz, suddenly, I felt the coolness emanating from above disappear, followed by a tremor in my body, and then my eyes turned black. When I opened my eyes again, Wuque returned to his physical body. Bang, just leaning back straight like this, Wuque lay on the wooden bed, all wet as if he had just been salvaged from the river. A pair of eyes that seemed to be naturally brilliant were full of smiles, and the corners of the mouth were slightly curled up, with the joy of completing 10 years of hard work, but there was another meaning, as if waiting for something. For a long time. Sigh, the consistent sigh echoed once again in Wuque's mind. Upon hearing this sigh, Wuque couldn't help but smile, a smile that had not appeared in 10 years. This is a comfortable and cheerful smile that only comes when seeing old friends again. Empty, long time no see. A young and melodious voice emanated from Wuque, as if talking to himself or to someone. After 10 years of silence, you have finally become a divine being. Wuque, you are truly remarkable. After a while, a voice that gave a sense of vicissitudes but sounded very young slowly echoed in Wuque's mind, as if the owner of this voice was a man who was only a few years older than Wuque. Buzz, a faint golden light flashed away, and Wuque closed his eyes again. His mind, also known as the divine soul space, trembled slightly, and that unfamiliar yet familiar feeling rippled in Wuque's heart. I can't believe that after sleeping for 10 years, you have truly condensed the source of the fighting holy law, which has stimulated and awakened me. It seems that although you were young back then, you still chose this path of silence. The voice that was called empty by Wuque and existed in his spiritual space seemed to have just woken up from a deep sleep, with a hint of laziness, but the admiration in its tone was not concealed. Empty, thank you just now. After sleeping for 10 years, have you ever remembered anything about yourself? Wuque, who was smiling, asked the question. I didn't expect Wuque to ask this question, so he paused for a moment and then smiled, saying, no, although I still can't remember who I am, the remaining divine soul power has been restored to some extent, enough to keep me awake. If it weren't for the 10-year period when you lifted the sun, moon, and stars ban, allowing me to reside in your divine soul space, I would have dissipated without a trace by now. Lying down, Wuque smiled slightly and suddenly raised his right hand, reaching into his arms and taking out a letter. This letter looks ordinary, with no handwriting on the surface of the envelope, but Wuque's expression, holding the letter in his right hand, becomes sad and lonely. Alas, as expected, it is this obsession that has supported you to willingly perish for 10 years, willing to give up your identity as a peerless genius, and also to gather the source of the holy fighting law. Just to open this letter, I ask you, do you regret choosing Wuque like this? Seeing the letter in Wuque's hand, Kong couldn't help but continue to ask. Do you know that if you didn't choose to condense the source of the holy Dharma, with your qualifications, your current cultivation level would inevitably be extremely high? But for this source of the fighting holy Dharma, you have been staying in the 5 heavens of forging body. Is all of this worth it? The empty question echoed in Wuque's mind. Looking at the letter in his hand, Wuque smiled lightly and said, is it worth it? Of course it is. Since I can remember, I have been following Fubo all along. It wasn't until I was 4 years old that Fubo brought me to the Murong family, left this letter in blood dragon jade, and quietly left. I can't even remember memories before the age of 4. I only know my name is Wuque, but I don't know who I am. Who are my parents? Where is my hometown? At this point, Wuque's expression became very warm and nostalgic, but he did not stop. These things that had been hidden for 10 years, he could only wanted to tell Kong. In some of the remaining scenes before the age of 4, I vaguely remember that although Fubo was not my father, he treated me like a child, and I seem to have followed him to many places before finally arriving at the Murong family. I don't know my life, but I have a hope, which is the letter left by Fubo and the blood dragon jade. Kong, after Fubo left, I was extremely sad. I stumbled to that place, accidentally lifting the sun, moon, and stars' prohibition, and met you. You tell me, this letter has been banned by a holy law. Even if my cultivation is high in the future, I will never be able to open this letter without knowing the holy law. Upon hearing this, Kong also fell silent for a moment. How could he not understand Yi Wuqi's words? In the eyes of this young man, no matter how advanced his cultivation is, it cannot compare to his persistence in family relationships. He does not know who he is, where he comes from, and where his parents are from. The only clue is this letter in blood dragon jade. How similar are Yi Wuqi and him? I have forgotten about myself, but he has never known about himself. We are all chasing and searching, hoping to find our roots. For a moment, the cabin fell into silence. After a long time, emptiness broke this silence. Hihi, do you know that? Yi Wuque, you have been silent for 10 years and have cultivated the holy method of fighting, which will become the greatest creation of your life. One day, you will know how right your choice is. The Forge Body realm has been cultivated into a holy method. Such an encounter, such a creation. The voices of amazement and happiness echoed endlessly in his mind. Yi Wuqi was somewhat surprised, but his face immediately froze as he remembered the battle with Murong Tian. Buzz, with a thought in his heart, the golden red qi and blood in his body surged and shook incessantly, and a smile gradually appeared at the corner of Yi Wuqi's mouth. Now that the holy method of fighting has become a reality, my qi and blood have broken through the shackles of the elixir field and returned to my physical body. Empty, should I be able to continue practicing? At present, Yi Wuqi told Kong about the battle with Murong Tian. At the age of 5, you reached the 5 heavens of body forging and achieved a small success in refining your tendons. Over the years, you have continuously nurtured and condensed the holy method of fighting and fighting, which has invisibly made your physical body stronger and has already achieved a great success in refining your tendons. As for bone and marrow refining, all you need is time. With the holy method of fighting and fighting, your path of cultivation will be completely different from that of ordinary people. This is a path of creation. As for why your qi and blood have changed, perhaps it is related to your physique. By the way, you can try to cultivate your elemental strength. Looking at the letter in his hand again, a flash of brilliance flashed in his eyes. Yi Wuqi solemnly took the letter into his arms and sat up according to the empty instructions, operating the already familiar Haotian power in his heart. His body was filled with golden and red qi and blood. Buzz, the source of the holy law suddenly jumped, and then a powerful suction spread outwards from the dantian. All the elemental forces in the body were immediately pulled by this suction and rushed into the source of the holy law in the dantian. Buzz, 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 Yi Wuque felt a vague sense of an unknown change happening within the surging source of the holy dharma, but at this moment, he believed in emptiness and was just holding on to Yuan Shi, fully focused. Bang! After a quarter of an hour, the entire source of the holy dharma suddenly shone brightly, with a golden light shining brightly. Yi Wuque was completely overwhelmed by this light. In that moment, Yi Wuque's expression changed. Buzz, the familiar and unfamiliar light golden elemental power flowed out of the source of the holy law, instantly distributing all 4 limbs and bones, no different from before. However, Yi Wuque knew that what was flowing in his body at this moment was no longer the previous elemental force. Magnificent, magnificent, and vast, it is also filled with a powerful and terrifying sense of war. Empty, what's going on here? Feeling the surging momentum of the pale golden elemental power, Yi Wuque couldn't help but ask. Sure enough. The first benefit of consolidating the source of the holy fighting technique is that from now on, what you cultivate is no longer just ordinary elemental power, but the holy Tao War Qi obtained from the source of the holy technique. At this moment, the voice of Kong also became somewhat excited. Before Yi Wuqi could ask another question, he continued, the holy Tao War Qi is a high-quality heaven and earth elemental power, 10 times thicker than ordinary elemental power, 10 times more condensed, and 10 times stronger in terms of killing power. That is to say, you who have cultivated the holy Tao War Qi will now have the ability to fight higher and stronger with weakness. Fighting over the ranks. Will the weak win over the strong? Yi Wuqi's brilliant eyes became brighter as the sky explained, feeling the golden and red qi, blood, and holy war qi in his body, and his heart was filled with passion. With a smile at the corner of his mouth, deep in Yi Wuqi's calm eyes, a hint of extremely compelling sharpness was hidden and not emitted. Fubo, I will definitely hold on to the blood dragon jade you left me, Murong Tian, I will take you as my first stepping stone for Yi Wuqi to shine again. The deep self-talk sounded like thunder, but full of immense confidence. The clear sky stretches for thousands of miles, and the sun hangs high. Shoo, 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 in front of the courtyard of the Murong family's children, 7 or 8 figures quickly moved forward, with a man and a woman leading the way. The man has a strong physique and a ferocious scar on his left cheek, which is Murong Hai, and the woman was dressed in a fiery red silk dress that accentuated her seductive and graceful figure. However, her pretty face was full of evil energy, and her beautiful eyes were filled with hatred and humiliation. Apart from Murong Binglan, who else was there? Following closely behind the two were several strong members of the younger generation of the Murong family. Although they were moving forward, their gaze was mostly focused on the beautiful figure of Murong Binglan, and their admiration was not concealed. Binglan, you're making too much of a fuss. Teach waste without shortage that kind of garbage, and you'll have to deal with so many of us. That's right, I can suppress him with just one hand. Fei Wuqi really doesn't know the superiority and inferiority of heaven and earth. He dares to make an appointment to fight Murong Tian, it's like seeking death. As Murong Binglan was moving, she didn't respond to the voices coming from behind. Instead, she calmly replied, I'm sorry to trouble everyone this time. Binglan will definitely repay me afterwards. Hey, Binglan, look at what you're saying. Whoever dares to offend you in the Murong family is offending us. Don't grab it, teach Yi Wuqi a lesson, I'll do it. Murong Hai narrowed his eyes slightly and glanced at Murong Binglan beside him. There was a hint of warmth in his eyes, and with a slight smile, he naturally guessed the purpose and reason for Murong Binglan's trip, which was also the reason why he came together. Teach Yi Wuqi a lesson and gain a slight favor in front of Murong Binglan, which is too simple for Murong Hai. Whoosh whoosh, stopping in front of a moderately sized wooden house, Murong Binglan's gaze towards the small building was full of malice. Murong Hai beside her laughed and took a big step forward. The Murong children standing behind Murong Binglan stopped in frustration. Garbage, come out. Murong Hai is bored and wants to play with you. This time, let you have both hands. A frantic voice came from his mouth, and the scar on his left face twitched slightly. Murong Hai stood with his hand down, but he was secretly wary. Although Yi Wuque had already been defeated, as far as he knew, there were many Murong sons who wanted to bully him in the past decade, except for public competitions. However, none of them succeeded. Jiya, the door of the wooden house opened, and a slender figure slowly emerged. It was Yi Wuqi. Murong Hai looked closely and suddenly felt that Yi Wuqi had become somewhat different from the past. I said, which dog got sick and started barking in front of my door early in the morning? It turned out to be you. Hee, since the mad dog got sick, I'll reluctantly tidy it up. Before leaving the house, words that were even crazier than Murong Hai spread throughout this place in an instant. Upon seeing Yi Wuqi emerge, Murong Binglan's eyes were like sharp needles, piercing fiercely towards Yi Wuqi, but the latter turned a blind eye. Upon hearing Yi Wuqi's words, Murong Hai's angry expression flashed away. However, he immediately pressed down and said in a jar voice, Fei Wuqi, I hope you have half the ability to speak as you do. Otherwise, even if I give you 2 hands, you are just trash. Walking slowly to a distance of 10 zhang from Murong Hai, Yi Wuqi's dazzling eyes were incredibly bright. He slowly raised his right hand, clenched it into a fist, and smiled leisurely, but there was an indescribable brilliance in this laughter. Murong Hai, believe it or not, I can knock you out with just 3 punches. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. States that 3 punches make 3 punches. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 says 3 fists is 3 fists, 3 punches to beat me up. Hahaha, you're useless without any flaws. I thought you were really talented enough to make an appointment with Murong Tian. Turns out, you're just crazy. Why, you've been a useless person for 10 years and can't survive anymore. Useless is useless. It's okay to daydream occasionally, but remember to hold your tail tightly, otherwise I might end up unhappy one day and crush you with 1 finger. The scar on his left cheek shook violently, and Murong Tian laughed wildly as he looked up to the sky. Yi Wuqi's words seemed to him as funny as ants swallowing elephants. The laughter echoed one after another, and the 5 or 6 Murong children who came with Murong Binglan couldn't help but burst into laughter. Their expressions were the same, as Yi Wuque, who was independent and had a long body, looked disdainful and contemptuous. Murong Binglan's lips also moved slightly, and a playful smile appeared on her delicate face. She regarded it as a shame that she had been engaged to Yi Wuqi, and had been holding this matter in her heart for years. She is the daughter of Murong Chongqing and the princess of the Murong family. She has privately approached Murong Chongqing countless times to reclaim her engagement with Yi Wuqi, but has never been successful. With each failure, Murong Binglan's disgust towards Yi Wuqi has accumulated time and time again. She firmly believed in her heart that the reason for her failure was undoubtedly Yi Wuqi's persistent begging and unwillingness to terminate her engagement. Yi Wuqi was still fantasizing about waiting until he was 18 years old to marry her. No one else could talk about the engagement, even though she harbored various hatred and resentment towards Yi Wuqi in her heart. Murong Binglan still had no choice but to wait until Murong Tian appeared. Murong Binglan has a good impression of Murong Tian, the elder brother of the Murong clan. Her talent is evident throughout the entire Murong family, and her appearance is also handsome. In addition, Murong Tian deliberately tries to please her from time to time. Murong Binglan's heart has long been tied to Murong Tian, and Murong Tian has logically stated that he will help her break her engagement with Yi Wuqi. This was the scene in the martial arts arena, but fate is not as good as fate. Although everything was developing in the direction of hope, the humiliating, unwilling, and crazy expression that Murong Binglan had hoped for from Yi Wuqi did not appear. Instead, she was relaxed and happy, and even pleaded with Murong Chongqing to retract her engagement. In front of everyone, Yi Wuqi's words made Murong Binglan almost faint with anger, and her resentment towards Yi Wuqi reached its extreme. Unexpectedly, this young man who had been abandoned for 10 years dared to make an appointment with Tiangang. Although everyone thought it was just a pointless rebellion by Yi Wuqi after being forced, Murong Binglan didn't think so. She believed it was Yi Wuqi's disgust towards her termination of the engagement, Murong Binglan's disgust towards her. Yi Wuqi, how dare you, such a useless person, humiliate me in person, and even more dare to make an appointment with brother Zhan Tian. Today, I will let you know what regret is. A chill permeated in her eyes, and thoughts surged in her heart. Murong Binglan's teasing smile slowly turned into a sneer. She wanted to watch Yi Wuque step on the ground like a dead dog with her own eyes. Are you laughing enough? Either start fighting or make way, early in the morning. A good dog doesn't block the way, it's really unlucky. As everyone laughed, Yi Wuqi slowly spoke up, his right fist slowly lowered, and he stood with his hand down, becoming calm and indifferent again. The grandeur and sharpness he had just had seemed to disappear, but a pair of dazzling eyes remained bright. The cool breeze blew, and the black martial arts shirt gently brushed against him. The young man was independent, exuding a natural temperament. In Murong Hai's eyes, at this moment, Yi Wuqi's whole body was permeated with an incomprehensible aura. Compared to the rebellious and domineering spirit of yesterday's battle with Murong Tian in the martial arts arena, the current Yi Wuqi gave him a profound and unpredictable feeling. Seemingly startled by his own thoughts, Murong Hai restrained his smile and glanced at Yi Wuqi, his expression gradually becoming cold. His muscular physique was twisted, his fists slightly raised, and a hint of malice flashed in his eyes. Yesterday at the martial arts arena, I was afraid that if I hit too hard, I might accidentally kill you. That's why I defeated you with 3 moves. Since you said 3 punches can destroy me, then I don't need to be lenient today. Boom and buzz, look at the move. Di Sha Hu Ben Fist. Qi and blood roared, Yuan Li oscillated, and Murong Hai's body suddenly leaped up. His tall body rushed forward 3 steps, clenched its right fist, and shouted loudly. A faint roar of a tiger roared out, and behind him appeared a 10-foot-sized image of a fierce tiger. Qi and blood penetrated through the skin, flesh, and tendons, and Murong Hai stepped into the 8-fold heaven of forging and bone refining, mercilessly making a move. Roar! The stone slab under his feet shattered and turned into a fierce tiger descending from the mountain. Murong Hai punched Yi Wuqi straight, and his fist pounded fiercely into the void. Is it true that Murong Hai also looks up to Fei Wuque, who is a top-notch martial artist in the Chinese martial arts world? Dealing with the garbage of forging the 5 heavens body, such as waste without shortage, using the Shangdi Sha Hu Ben fist, is really a waste. Who said it's not? But I deserve to be useless and unlucky, with a sharp tongue. I think this punch is useless and flawless, and I've been lying in bed for 3 months now. The 5 or 6-year-old famous Murong's children were surprised to see that Murong Hai was a top-notch master when he made a move, and they didn't understand why it was just a lesson for a small useless person. Murong Hai would be so serious. Red Lips sneered incessantly, but Murong Binglan, who was holding her chest with both hands, vaguely saw that Murong Hai seemed to be more than just a simple lesson to Yi Wuqi. Lie down for me. Accompanied by Murong Hai's shout, a hint of malice flashed in his eyes without concealment. His fist had already collapsed to within a zhang of Yi Wuqi's body. Yi Wuqi still stood quietly, his eyes remaining calm. With Murong Hai's attack, his right hand slowly clenched into a fist, slowly lifting up from behind. Just as Murong Hai's punch was about to hit him, Yi Wuqi calmly punched. In Murong Binglan's eyes full of pleasure, the fists of Murong Hai and Yi Wuque, who were carrying the image of a fierce tiger, collided in one place. In an instant, the sound of fist strikes echoed out. Bang! However, in the next moment, a hint of disbelief flashed across Murong Binglan's beautiful face. How could this be possible? How could this be possible? The same words echoed in Murong Hai's heart, but his face was even uglier than Murong Binglan's, because he felt a strange yet terrifying power from the ordinary and indifferent fist of the young man across from him. Whispering, the intense friction between his feet and the stone slab made Murong Hai retreat at the same speed as he had previously attacked Yi Wuqi. He tried his best to control his body, but that strange force prevented him from doing so. Push and push. After taking 6 steps back, Murong Hai finally stopped his figure. Coincidentally, he stopped right where he was standing at the beginning. Under the clash of 2 fists, Murong Hai retreated 6 steps. On the other hand, Yi Wuqi did not even shake his body. Hiss! The sound of inhaling air couldn't stop, and the 5 or 6 Murong children's expressions changed greatly, almost unable to believe their own eyes. This. What did I see? Fei Wuque forced Murong Hai back with a punch. Is this an illusion? The strength of Disha Huban fist is that it concentrates all the energy of the body onto the 2 fists, which can produce a force twice as high as one's own body, but without even shaking the body. How could this be? Isn't it Murong Hai who showed mercy? The beautiful eyes of Murong Binglan, who had been holding her chest with both hands, flashed in disbelief and then looked at Murong Hai. She wanted to know what was going on. Trembling. Murong Binglan immediately noticed that Murong Hai's right arm was trembling. It was obvious that the punch just now was not due to his intentional acting or leniency, but because he was really pushed back by that useless young man with a punch. The expression on his face changed greatly, and Murong Haihu stared at the young man across from him with round eyes. At this moment, the scar on his left cheek almost began to engorge, feeling the pain and numbness in his right arm. Murong Haihu felt like he had been struck by lightning. The power of the Holy Way's fighting spirit is truly remarkable. Murmuring in a voice that only he could hear, Yi Wuqi looked at his right fist, his calm eyes instantly becoming excited, sharp as a knife. Yi Wuque. You're not the Wuchong heaven of forging body. You're the Wuchong heaven of forging body. A voice full of suspicion sounded from Murong Haikao, and the shock in his heart was indescribable. Through the just punch, he suddenly realized that Yi Wuque's cultivation was not a small achievement in forging the 5 heavenly muscles, but a great achievement in forging the 6 heavenly muscles. But just yesterday, Yi Wuqi was just forging the 5 heavens of the body. No, it should be said that in the past decade, Yi Wuque has always been a cultivator of the 5 heavens of forging body. But this is still not the point. The key is that Yi Wuque, who has forged the 6th level of the heavenly heavens, punches himself to defeat him, who has already advanced to the 8th level of the heavenly bone refining. This is what Murong Hai cannot believe in his heart. Crossing 2 realms to challenge oneself beyond 1 level. How could this be possible? I don't believe it. It was just a coincidence. I don't believe it. How could Murong Hai be forced to retreat by a useless person? Dish a tiger bend fist. Tiger shatters the world. Roar! A huge roar of a fierce tiger roared from behind Murong Hai, his eyes turning crimson. Murong Hai stepped on his right foot in place, and his whole body soared into the sky. The image of a fierce tiger behind him, with its head wide open, engulfed him. A fierce aura emerged from Murong Hai's body. With Yi Wuque's punch forcing him to retreat, Murong Hai finally stopped holding on and unleashed his full body cultivation, using the deadly move of the Disha Tiger Bend fist. Roar! As if a gust of fishy wind was blowing towards his face, Murong Hai transformed into a fierce and colorful tiger, with his fists like the claws of a tiger, falling from the sky and tearing towards Yi Wuqi. The fluctuation of cultivation in the 8 heavens of forging body made Murong Binglan and 5 or 6 Murong disciples present change their faces, indicating that Murong Hai's strength is still extremely strong. Is it the Di Shahu Ben fist? Unfortunately, I know it too. This is the second fist. The tiger shatters the world. A loud roar sounded like thunder. With Murong Hai's move, Yi Wuqi, who was originally standing still, had inexplicable eyes and a fierce expression. His holy path and fighting spirit flowed fiercely in his body, and the origin of the Dantian holy law leaped and danced. His golden and red qi and blood were surging incessantly, and a magical force gushed out incessantly, as if a thunder was stirring up the earth fire, causing earth-shattering changes. Buzz, and rumble, with a slight bend in both legs, Yi Wuque's body was filled with fighting energy, and his golden and red blood was surging. With both feet on the ground, a fierce tiger image emerged from behind, engulfing him. Unlike the colorful tiger transformed by Murong Hai, Yi Wuque transformed into a golden tiger. The golden tiger's head roared, and Yi Wuque watched as the colorful tiger descended from the sky and attacked him. Its 4 claws seemed to trample on the void, stepping up into the sky. 2 tigers roared incessantly, their elemental strength pouring out in all directions, and in an instant, 2 fierce tigers collided in one place. Bang, roar, and rumble, within 5 zhang of the surroundings, the pale golden elemental power permeated the air, making it impossible for others to see it. Only 2 tiger roars were heard incessantly, as if fighting together, with a terrifying momentum. Roar! Suddenly, a tiger roar filled with pain and unwillingness roared up to the sky. In Murong Binglan's eyes, a huge image of a fierce tiger shot down backwards. Before it even landed, he heard a crack sound as the image of a fierce tiger shattered, and one of the figures fell to the ground in great embarrassment. Her beautiful eyes were round and wide, and her rosy lips were bitten white by Bei's teeth. The extremely embarrassed figure fell into her eyes, and it was Murong Hai. Bang! With his feet firmly on the ground, the emptiness and pain emanating from his body made Murong Hai almost unable to stand straight. At this moment, his left hand caressed his chest, his face pale, and his scar trembled incessantly. His eyes looked at the figure in the sky, and what flashed inside was no longer the crimson color and unwillingness, but a deep fear and a hint of fear. Buzz, fist force tore open the pervasive elemental power, and Wuqi's figure reappeared. His eyes were like lightning, sweeping towards Murong Hai. He was also falling, with a handsome face, a strong posture, and a rainbow-like aura. At this moment, Wuqi was like a god of war. Murong Hai, there's a third punch, let's see if I can blow you up. Buzz, as soon as Wuque's right foot touched the ground, he used his strength to step forward and lifted his right fist again. His whole body was like wind and lightning, rushing towards Murong Sea at lightning speed. The punch is surging, and the void suddenly rings. Feeling the dominance and sharpness of this punch, Murong Hai's eyes became even more fearful, and he even had the idea of running away in his heart. But he glanced at Murong Binglan and found that her expression was extremely shocked. Her delicate body trembled lightly, and her beautiful eyes stared fixedly at Wuqi, as if she had seen a ghost. Wuque. These three words popped out of Murong Hai's mouth, and a hint of malice flashed in his eyes. He suppressed his desire to escape, activated all the elemental strength in his body, and shook his chi and blood. He clenched his right hand into a fist and punched towards the direction of Wuque's attack. Bang! There was another sound of two fists intersecting, and Wuqi's eyes were extremely sharp. Murong Hai's body shook first, and then his face turned red. Puff! A mouthful of blood spurted out, and Murong Hai's body rolled back. This time, he could no longer control his body and fell straight towards the slate ground. The huge force inertia made his body continue to roll back, all the way to Murong Binglan. Puff! Unable to resist, another mouthful of blood spurted out, but it sprayed onto Murong Binglan's red skirt. At this moment, Murong Hai lay in front of Murong Binglan like a dead dog, his face extremely pale, but he didn't even have the strength to get up. Murong Binglan's pretty face turned pale, and the evil energy in her eyes had already disappeared. Instead, a hint of disbelief and fear surged up. She looked at Wuqi, who had regained her composure and stood still, her heart churning like a huge wave, unable to calm down. The 5 or 6 Murong children standing behind Murong Binglan almost had weak legs, dry throats, and couldn't say a word, their expressions full of fear. Standing calmly, Wuqi's dazzling gaze remained calm like water, as he looked at Murong Hai who was trying to climb up. He said calmly, "If you say 3 punches will explode you, then 3 punches will explode you." Then he took a step forward and walked straight towards the direction where Murong Binglan was. Wuqi. What do you want to do? I warn you not to act recklessly. Otherwise, Realizing that Wuqi was walking towards her, Murong Binglan's cold and pale face flashed with a hint of panic. Murong Hai, who had forged the 8 heavens and refined bones, couldn't even take Wuqi's 3 punches, and her forged 7 heavens couldn't possibly be Wuqi's opponent. Her full chest trembled violently as she watched Wuqi walk step by step with an expressionless expression. Murong Binglan tried her best to calm herself down, but her spare time swept over Murong Hai, who was struggling like a dead dog. Murong Binglan couldn't help but feel a chill in her heart. However, Wuqi just quietly passed by Murong Binglan's side, and even from beginning to end, he didn't even glance at the heavenly beauty of the Murong family. Ignoring. Wuqi's actions fell into the eyes of Murong Binglan, causing the humiliation and resentment in her heart to boil again and intensify. Emotion seemed to have reached an extreme, but instead suppressed the fear in her heart. Murong Binglan suddenly turned around and shouted loudly at Wuqi's back, "Wuqi! You useless person! Wait for the day brother to step on you a month later." Murong Binglan's words naturally reached Yi Wuqi's ears, but he did not stop, only a pair of eyes with a faint inner edge. Murong Tian. Hehe, I can't wait any longer. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Immortal Child, Sun, Moon, and Stars Prohibited. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 Immortal Child, Sun, Moon, and Stars Prohibited. Xiao Yuanli shook and left the courtyard of Murong's children. Yi Wuqi's figure became erratic, and he seemed to have recognized a certain direction and rushed towards it. Hehe, that Murong Binglan seems to have a lot of resentment towards you. Kong's slightly teasing voice rang out in Yi Wuqi's mind, and he naturally caught a glimpse of the scene just now. He was not surprised by Yi Wuqi's 3 punches hitting Murong high. Because in the just past night, the golden and red qi and blood returned to the physical body, and Yi Wuqi's cultivation, which was condensed from the source of the holy law, finally improved again after a decade of stagnation. Forging the 6 heavenly peaks of the body and achieving great strength through muscle refining. This is Yi Wuqi's current state, but it is just the beginning. The strength of the Holy Way's fighting spirit was undoubtedly demonstrated through the battle just now, as it crossed 2 levels and defeated Murong Hai, which is the best proof. So, if there is no certainty, how could Yi Wuqi make an appointment to fight Murong Tian at yesterday's martial arts arena? After a month, he will personally bring back what belongs to him. Of course, 1 month is too short. Murong Tian has now stepped into the realm of washing the mortal spirit and consolidating the soul moon. His cultivation is far more powerful than Murong Hai's. It is not easy to defeat him. But this is exactly what Yi Wuqi wants. Without immense pressure, how can there be infinite motivation? He, who has been silent for 10 years, is like a beautiful jade carved through time, now releasing a brilliant light once again. It's just a joke from my childhood. I finally broke off my engagement yesterday, and now I can be quiet. After all, she is Uncle Changqing's daughter, so naturally I won't do anything to her. Yi Wuqi answered Kong's words in a hurry, and immediately put the matter behind him. His eyes narrowed slightly, because at the end of his gaze was the vast and ancient primitive mountains and forests. This place was visited by Yi Wuqi once 10 years ago. Empty, 10 years have passed, and I don't know if the sun, moon, and stars have been discovered by anyone else. Looking at the primitive mountains and forests in the distance, Yi Wuqi spoke lightly, with a hint of inexplicability in his tone. The cave where the sun, moon, and stars are forbidden is extremely secretive, and most people cannot even discover it. If it weren't for you accidentally falling from there back then, you wouldn't have discovered it. The empty answer is extremely affirmative. Forget it, it's pointless to think too much. When it comes to it, I'll naturally know. I hope there will really be something in the remaining moon and star bands that can improve my cultivation. The sun, moon, and stars are forbidden. 10 years ago, Yi Wuqi encountered emptiness in the daily ban, while the remaining moon ban and star ban may also contain highly valuable treasures. This is also the goal of Yi Wuqi's trip. After all, it is only 1 month. Without adventures, even with his own hard work, no matter how talented he is, he cannot grow to a level that can rival Murong Tian, let alone defeat him. Xiao Yi Wuqi's speed was 3 points faster under his feet, and the surrounding phosphorus and strange rocks were constantly left behind by him. With such speed, he could reach the cave where the sun, moon, and stars were forbidden in no time. Ha! With a sudden pause at his feet, Yi Wuqi suddenly felt a familiar wave flickering ahead, and then a sincere smile flashed on his face. At the same time, a crisp and moving voice sounded softly. Brother Yi. In front of Yi Wuqi's gaze, next to a huge strange rock, a delicate figure in a flawless white dress stood tall, with black hair cascading over her fragrant shoulders. Her skin was as radiant as jade, with a white and red hue. Her facial features were pure and delicate, and her watery eyes were filled with joy. The girl who suddenly appeared was like a fairy descending from the sky. She was 14 or 15 years old, delicate and charming, with a rosy little mouth and a smile on her face. She looked at Yi Wuqi, her eyes smiling like a crescent moon, extremely moving. Whoosh! With a gentle step on the spot, the girl rose into the air, her white skirt dancing, and her 3,000 delicate hair fluttering lightly. In an instant, she crossed a distance of nearly 3 zhang and stood in front of Yi Wuqi in a lively manner. As the young girl approached, Yi Wuqi's smile intensified. He suddenly took a step forward, raised his right hand, gently rubbed the girl's smooth black hair, and smiled, "Sienna, you've been running around again. This ancient forest is not a safe place, be careful not to encounter a big tiger and eat you." Sienna, whose hair was messed up by Yi Wuqi, was not at all annoyed. Feeling the warmth of Yi Wuqi's right hand, the girl's sparkling eyes were full of smiles. "Brother Yi, are you talking about Sienna?" Sienna hasn't seen Brother Yi for a long time. Sienna's voice is clear and crisp, like a clear spring flowing with a thud, as if it can wash away the fatigue in one's heart, making one unable to help but fall in love with this girl with a fairy-like aura. The two of them looked at each other with a smile, and a strong warmth emanated. In Yi Wuqi's eyes, this slightly mysterious girl was like his sister, cute and kind. Sienna, one of the Murong Shuangshu. She is said to be mysterious because, like Yi Wuqi, she was fostered in the Murong family. However, it seems that no one knows her background. Her identity in the Murong family is extremely special, and even Murong Chongqing has great affection for the Immortal. However, Yi Wuque discovered that although Murong Chongqing was kind to Sienna, he still had a hint of respect. This feeling surprised Yi Wuque, but it did not hinder his intimacy with Sienna. The entire Murong family knows that Yi Wuque, a useless person, is the only one who can chat and laugh with Sienna, and behave affectionately, which is not immune to the jealousy of many Murong children. Because in their eyes, Sienna seemed to have no trace of human fireworks, and sooner or later she would quietly fly away like a fairy. This is a mysterious girl who does not belong here. Brother Yi, Sienna has gone back first. Remember to come and find Sienna. Seemingly sensing something, Sienna smiled and carried a refreshing fragrance, leaving Yi Wuqi with a beautiful and perfect silhouette. The sudden appearance and departure of Sienna made Yi Wuqi couldn't help but smile slightly and say, "This little girl is really smart." How could he not understand? Sienna must have noticed the improvement in his cultivation and specially rushed to Shirgu Forest. He must have had some requests before leaving, so as not to waste his time. This little girl is not simple. It's strange to say that the Murong family first had you, and then she. I don't know how long I've lived, but when I spoke, I saw the nail on the head. Xiao, Yi Wuqi, who no longer hesitated, surged along the winding and rugged mountain road with the holy spirit of war within his body. In 15 minutes. Wow! Feeling the huge roar in his ears, Yi Wuqi, who had stopped at a high ground, looked down with a flicker in his eyes. The huge sound of water roared and roared, like a white sword piercing down. The place where Yi Wuqi stood was just upstream of a huge waterfall. The waterfall, which is 10 zhang high, is overflowing with water and air. The flowing water flows endlessly and converges in the river below, creating a magnificent and astonishing momentum. This is a waterfall hidden in the ancient forest, and it is here that Yi Wuque discovered the cave where the sun, moon, and stars were forbidden 10 years ago. Now, after 10 years, he has come here again. At this moment, calm remained silent. This was also the place where he had once existed. Yi Wuqi stood quietly, as if recalling. After 10 breaths, suddenly his eyes moved, he stepped on the water surface, suddenly exerted force, and his whole body jumped down towards the bottom of the waterfall. Shwa, bang, clattering, the body came into contact with the rushing water, and the tremendous impact sent waves of pain. However, Yi Wuqi didn't care at all. His golden and red qi and blood surged incessantly, and his arms were placed in front of him, allowing him to recognize the direction behind the waterfall. With the force of a leap and the impact of the water flow, Wuqi kicked his legs and instantly broke through the waterfall, disappearing into the midst of it. With a long sigh of relief, Wuqi stabilized his body. At this moment, he was already in a wide and tall cave, and the original waterfall had become a natural gateway to cover the entrance. The cave where the sun, moon, and stars are forbidden is hidden within this waterfall. The light inside the cave was still clear, and Wuqi walked slowly along the only path. Memories of 10 years ago slowly emerged, and he followed the direction in his memory to the end of the path. A bend appeared before his eyes, and without hesitation, his body moved and entered it. Shua, 3 brilliant lights suddenly appeared in Wuqi's eyes, and Wuqi's mood also became somewhat excited at this moment. Because 5 zhang away in front of him, a strange sight shone brightly. The stone platform, which is covered in a blue-gray color and has been modeled for a long time, seems to have existed here since ancient times. In the center of it, there are 3 huge light clusters floating and sinking, as if breathing. The 3 colors of light each shine from it, magnificent and breathtaking. The blue light cluster on the left is like a faint blue star, swaying in waves with profound meanings. The light cluster on the right is like a silver-white moon, emitting a faint silver light that illuminates oneself, as if it has accumulated ancient times. Above the stars and moon, there is a dim golden cluster of light, but the remaining aura is still dazzling, revealing the world like a scorching sun. Turning his gaze towards the dim sun-forbidden light, Wuqi's eyes flickered with a slight throb, and a sigh from the sky echoed in his mind. The sun, moon, stars have been banned for 10 years, and we never expected to return to this place. Seemingly feeling the loneliness and inexplicability of the emptiness, Wuque spoke out, "At that time, I was only 5 years old. Fubo's sudden departure left me deeply saddened, and I frantically wanted to catch up with him. I stumbled and ran to the ancient forest, but accidentally fell down the waterfall and came here. Accidentally lifting the daily ban, encountering you who is about to dissipate, and even obtaining the origin of the holy law of fighting. Now, thinking about it all, it's like fate." Wuqi couldn't help but feel deeply moved. 10 years of silence have polished his will to an incredibly clear and firm state, and it has also allowed him to slowly grow from a young child to a young man. However, the hardships and difficulties involved are beyond the imagination of others. In the strongest day ban, I and the source of the Dozhan holy law are sealed, so in the remaining month ban and star ban, each must also be sealed with highly valuable good things. Empty words rang out faintly, but Wuqi clearly felt a hint of bone-wrenching sadness and confusion in it. To me, the ban on the sun, moon, and stars is considered a creation, but to the sky, it is a cage. Who sealed the sky in the ban on the sun, moon, and stars? In a flash of thought, Wuque said softly, "Empty, for the past 10 years, our 2 lives have been one. Perhaps in the future, we will still be one, so your matter has always been my matter. One day, I will investigate the past of you and me, and this is my promise from Wuque." Although the voice of the youth is light, the persistence and firmness contained in it are moving. Obviously, I didn't expect Wuqi to say such words. Kong seemed to be taken aback for a moment, then laughed, but there was a hint of warmth in his laughter. Wuqi and Kong, one doesn't know who they are, and the other forgets who they are. The world is like fate, and who can explain it clearly? I don't know why you were able to lift the solar ban 10 years ago, but now that you have the origin of the holy law of fighting, it's as simple as eating and drinking water to lift the moon ban and star ban. Buzz, bang. Wow. The golden red chi and blood surged up, and the holy fighting spirit trickled down, feeling the powerful aura of the origin of the fighting holy law. Wuqi's lips slightly curled up, and with a big step, his fists were surrounded by the holy fighting spirit, straight towards the moon forbidden light group and the star forbidden light group. Bang, bang, almost with a loud explosion, the entire cave was shrouded in pale golden elemental energy. Bobo, 2 subtle shattering sounds followed closely behind, and in Wuqi's fiery gaze, the moon ban and star ban broke one after another. At the same time, two things appeared in their original places. That is a dark rectangular box and a fragrant fiery red glow filled with fragrance. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. 7-star refining box, human-level explosive spirit pill. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. 7-star refining box, human-level explosive spirit pill. Watching the moon band and star band being blasted open by himself, two different forms of things emerged. Wuqi couldn't help but brighten his eyes. He already had a hint of speculation about what the fragrant fiery red glow was, so he walked towards the dark rectangular box first, which aroused Wuqi's curiosity. The tentacles are warm and cool. Wuqi gently placed his right hand on the surface of the black box, and his first sensation was the temperature of the object. As his right hand slowly swayed, he felt the texture of the black box. The tentacles are warm and cool, and the surface texture feels incredibly smooth to the touch, but rough patterns can be clearly felt. What material is this box made of, and why does it have this contradictory feeling? With a flash of his gaze, he reached out his hand again, and with a slight force from both hands, Wuqi easily held the quietly floating black box in his hand. About 4 feet long and 1 foot wide, it's dark and rectangular, almost weightless. What exactly is this? Carefully examining the dark box in his hand, although he couldn't see anything, the feeling it gave Wuqi was extremely peculiar, as if the dark box in his hand should have been as heavy as 1,000 pounds. It seems like there are some patterns carved on the back. Flipping the box over, Wuqi suddenly discovered some patterns on the other side of the box. Empty. Do you think these patterns look like stars in the sky? They seem to be connected together. Wuque's voice sounded slightly skeptical, and on the other side of the dark long box, there were 7 blurry patterns engraved on the box. When connected from top to bottom, it looked like a spoon. This is the Big Dipper. After a long silence, Kong spoke slowly. Upon hearing the empty words, Wuqi's eyes twitched and he looked carefully. No wonder he felt that these 7 star-shaped patterns were very familiar. It seems that the maker of this box carved the Big Dipper 7 stars during casting, but it was very dim, maybe just the pattern. Looking at the spoon-like Big Dipper, Wuque instinctively touched the position of the first star in the Big Dipper, Tianshu star, with his hand. Just as Wuque put his hand on it, there was a sudden burst of brightness in front of him, and then he seemed to be in a brilliant starry sky. Surrounded by dazzling starlight, countless stars rise and fall, exuding an ancient atmosphere that seems to embody time and eternity. However, in this dazzling starry sky, there are 7 exceptionally bright stars connected into one, emitting a radiance that directly reflects into Wuqi's eyes. It is the Big Dipper. Beidou function. 7-star refining technique. At the same time, an extremely old voice echoed back and forth in this brilliant starry sky, getting louder and farther, and even drowning the entire sky. Buzz, the moment darkened again, as if waking up from a dream. When Wuqi opened his eyes again, he found himself still in the cave. With a heavy breath, Wuque's face was shocked. The scenes just before him made Wuque feel incredibly real. He looked at the dark long box in his hand again, and a glimmer of brilliance flashed in his eyes. 7-star refining box. What a 7-star refining box. Just now, your divine soul space suddenly trembled incessantly, falling into a strange state, as if under a kind of illusion. It seems that the box in your hand is not immortal. A slightly peculiar remark rang out, residing in the divine soul space in Wuque's mind. How could he not have noticed Wuque's state just now? At present, Wuque told Kong Ting about the scene just now. Beidou Fengshen, Qixing Liandao, Beidou Qixing, and the voice of the elderly. This seems to be a mystery from the universe and the starry sky. The Qixing Liandao box and I have been sealed in the sun, moon, and star prohibition together. Is there any connection between me in the past and the owner of this Qixing Liandao box? Or is it that I used to be the owner of the Qixing Liandao box? So where do I come from? The empty speculation was heard by Wuque in his heart, and his heart coincided with the empty speculation about this matter. However, this matter is quite bizarre and not something that the two of them can explore at present. After the scene just now, the 7-star refining box drew a mysterious symbol in Wuqi's eyes. It is seamlessly integrated, except for 2 small round buckles on the left and right, there is no gap, as if it is naturally formed. There must be a secret hidden in the 7-star refining box, but it cannot be explored for the time being. However, one day when I reach a high level of cultivation, perhaps I can unlock the secret inside. Silently speaking from Wuque, Calm also let out a gentle sigh. Obviously, it is not a wise choice to dwell on this matter now. There is a 7-star refining box in the moon ban, so let me take a look at what's inside the star ban. Is it as I thought? Standing the 7-star refining box on the ground, Wuqi's gaze swept towards the fiery red light on the other side. The fiery heat in his eyes was not concealed, and he gently walked forward. The fragrance from the fiery red light cluster shook Wuqi's whole body, and then it seemed that his whole body was being pulled up and down. At this moment, the movement of the holy path and battle energy in his body seemed to be faster, and his whole body was comfortable. With a flick of his right hand, he reached into the fiery red light, and within Wuqi's perception, he touched a round and warm object that still emitted warmth. After grasping firmly, he immediately extended his right hand back and opened his palm. A hint of joy flashed across Wuqi's face, saying, "It's indeed a pill." In the palm of his hand, there lay a dragon-eye-sized pill, completely red and bright, with a flickering red light inside. TSK, elixirs are distinguished by grade, with each grade divided into 3 levels. Upper, middle, and lower. In the entire Murong family, the elixirs usually issued by Murong children during cultivation are only 1 level lower level Rongling pill and Qi and blood pill. The former refines the body's elemental strength, while the latter harmonizes the body's Qi and blood. Just these 2 types of elixirs taken by all Murong children require a huge amount of resources from the Murong family to purchase each month. The first-grade intermediate-level pills need to be obtained by Murong's children based on their own abilities, which is also the purpose of the Murong family's monthly competition. Firstly, to test their combat power, and secondly, to obtain better pills, so those talented and powerful Murong's children often do their best to defeat their opponents and obtain better pills. However, some innate talents do not need to obtain elixirs through big competitions. Their elixirs and techniques are the best, and what they need to do is to break through, and then break through. In the Murong family, Murong Tian is like this. If there were no continuous supply of high-quality pills and powerful techniques, how could Murong Tian lead other Murong disciples by so much at the age of 18, gathering the soul moon and breaking through to the soul realm of Shifanim? Apart from Murong Tian's exceptional talent, pills and martial arts are absolutely indispensable. Feeling the warmth of the red pill in his hand, Wuque's thoughts flowed in his heart. 10 years ago, his treatment was more favorable than that of Murong Tian, but since he chose to silence, all of this has disappeared. If it weren't for Murong Chongqing, Wuque wouldn't even have had the opportunity to obtain the Rongling pill and the Qi and blood pill in these 10 years. Waste, no one will ever pity. With such a good appearance, the level of this pill is at least above the 2nd level, and it is even very likely to be a pill below the 3rd level. Looking at the elixir in his hand, Wuque carefully distinguished it. He was not an alchemist and could only be said to have some understanding of the types of elixirs, but not profound. However, this does not prevent him from making a rough distinction. If this pill is truly a 3rd-grade pill for enhancing elemental strength, then it will be the biggest gain for him on this trip. Because even in the Murong family, the best pill that Murong Tian takes is only the 1st level upper and 2nd level lower. This is a 3rd-grade lower level pill, a human-level explosive spirit pill. The tone of emptiness was very definite, echoing in Wuque's mind. Oh. Empty, do you also know anything about elixirs? Well, in the remaining memories, there seems to be some scenes of pills. Although I have forgotten the prescription for refining medicine, I still have the ability to distinguish pills. Surprised by Kong's ability, Wuque couldn't help but feel a little happy in his heart. If he needed any kind of elixir in the future, he could just ask Kong directly. It was like a complete collection of living elixirs. This makes Wuqi even more curious about what kind of existence Kong used to be. Human-level explosive spirit pill, what is the effect of this pill? Can it enhance the body's elemental strength? Wuqi asked the most crucial question. Upon hearing Wuque's inquiry, Kong seemed to pause for a moment before slowly speaking up. The human-level explosive spirit pill is a third-level lower level, with only one medicinal effect, which is to increase the user's body's elemental strength by 3 levels and limit the cultivation of the cultivator's physical realm. As soon as these words were spoken, Wuque's heart was instantly shaken. Do you mean that if I take this pill, the holy Tao War Qi in my body can be immediately increased by 3 levels? In theory, it means this. What does this mean? The empty answer was not as straightforward as imagined, which made Wuqi somewhat confused. In this world, there is no power that is obtained out of thin air, just like how you paid the price of 10 years of silence to gather the source of the holy law of fighting. Although this human-level explosive spirit pill can increase the user's elemental strength, there is a prerequisite. What premise? The empty words did not make Wuqi hesitate at all. Without a direct response to Wuque's question, Kong spoke leisurely. In order for a cultivator to improve their cultivation in the forging state, they must thoroughly refine their skin, flesh, tendons, bones, and marrow, ultimately achieving a perfect forging state, where elemental strength and qi and blood are integrated, in order to have the qualification to break through the washing state. But in the process of cultivation, it is important to follow a step-by-step approach, without any shortcuts. Even if there is one, it will inevitably come at a huge cost, and there are also significant risks involved. The existence of this human-level explosive spirit pill is a shortcut to forging the physical realm, where a small pill can directly increase 3 levels without burning the body in qi and blood. However, if it is really so simple, there is no such thing as heaven rewards diligence. Skin, flesh, tendons, bones, and marrow are the 5 levels that cultivators must pass in order to forge their bodies. Each breakthrough is accompanied by a severe pain, and if you pass through, you will advance to success. If you can't pass through, you may suffer damage to your muscles and meridians, but in severe cases, you will become a useless person. Therefore, cultivation is done step by step, while the human-level explosive spirit pill is a sudden increase of 3 levels. In other words, at this moment, you are the 6th-level heavenly muscle refining achievement of forging body. If you take this pill, you will become the 9th-level heavenly marrow refining achievement of forging body. However, if you break through 3 levels in a row, from bone refining achievement to marrow refining achievement, what will be the pain and risks involved? Wuqi listened quietly as Kong finished speaking. His expression became more serious with Kong's words, but within Kong's perception, Wuqi had no fear at all. If you take the human-level explosive spirit pill, you have a 50% chance of breaking through successfully, and another 50% chance of exploding and dying. This is risking your life. After finishing his last sentence, Kong stopped speaking and handed over the right to choose to Wuqi. With his legs bent, Wuqi sat alone on the ground, in a cross-legged position. With his right hand, he gently pinched the 3rd-grade lower-level explosive spirit pill. His face relaxed, as if he had no fear of the pill that might cause him to explode and die. Instead, he suddenly smiled and said, "Empty, do you know? The most profound truth I have understood in these 10 years of silence is not only perseverance and unwavering faith, but also once I make a choice, I will steadfastly walk on, even if it is a dead end, I will break through a glimmer of vitality." The young man sat with a handsome face, and his bright eyes were full of determination and persistence. His words may sound too childish to those who have gone through vicissitudes, but no one knows how powerful the power of this young man's soul has become after 10 years of silence. I don't know this, even if it's empty. 10 years ago, at the moment of choosing silence, I understood that in order to find Fubo and understand my background, one must have strong strength. Therefore, as long as it is any price I can afford, I will not hesitate. Murong Tian wants to seize the blood dragon jade, how could I let him do it? Bet my life. He, then I will bet. I will definitely not die, I will definitely succeed. Slightly paranoid words echoed through the cave, empty and silent. He remained silent, only silently watching the young man swallow this pill with the dual power of death and hope. Wuqi couldn't see it. In the depths of his spiritual space, a golden lightning flashed brilliantly, and within that lightning sat a young man with a blurry appearance. He could only hear a sigh. Wuqi, you want to live. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. I am waiting for you in the 100 Cities battle. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. I am waiting for you in the 100 Cities battle. As soon as the pill was taken in, it turned into a fragrant heat stream that rushed down Wuque's throat and burst into his body. Suddenly, a violent force accompanied by astonishing heat exploded inside his body. At this moment, the golden and red qi, as well as the holy battle qi, seemed to sense the scorching and massive power from the outside. With Wuqi's mind running, they all rushed towards the torrent of medicinal power unleashed by the human-level explosive spirit pill. Shua, feeling the instant boiling inside his body, Wuqi remained expressionless and embraced Yuan Shi, devoting all his mind to commanding the golden red qi and blood as well as the holy Tao war qi. He wanted to use his own qi and blood and yuan power to dissolve and gradually absorb the power of the human-level explosive spirit pill. This process may be extremely dangerous, or it may really be like gambling as Kong said, but Wuqi has already suppressed his fear in his heart. At this moment, all he has left is to do his best to gamble his life. Bang! Just as Wuque was wholeheartedly controlling his body's golden blood and holy battle qi, the power of the human-level explosive spirit pill began to take effect. Dong, dong, dong. My body, skin, flesh, and tendons shook together. Although Wuqi closed his eyes tightly, he still clearly felt every change in his body. Every inch of his skin began to tremble gently, his body began to shake violently, and within his body, the muscles and veins that had already been refined were also wriggling together. Bang! To Wuqi's surprise, the power of the human-level explosive spirit pill was much stronger than he had imagined, and its spreading speed was incredibly fast. In just a few breaths, almost every inch of blood, flesh, and tendons in Wuqi's body were filled, and it collided with the golden and red qi, as well as the holy battle qi. With a muffled groan, a huge tearing pain suddenly erupted from within Wuqi's body, instantly engulfing his mind, as if a giant was plundering and destroying within him. Wherever he passed, his muscles and veins twisted and his flesh boiled. He had just swallowed the human-level explosive spirit pill for only 10 breaths, and the pain that Wuque endured unfolded and reached the extreme. And this is just the beginning of a human-level explosive spirit pill. As the name suggests, it is this pill that brings an incredibly violent power. The human body is inherently fragile, and even minor vibrations or injuries can cause serious injury or even death. As a third-level lower level, although the human-level explosive spirit pill can enhance the elemental strength of cultivators in the forging state by 3 levels, cultivators must bear the risks brought by this pill. One is the simultaneous oscillation of skin, flesh, tendons, bone, and marrow. Another is to combine the pain of breakthrough with the 3 levels, using the violent power of the medicine to attack the bone and marrow refining states. If not successful, it will be a blessing. After enduring, my cultivation skyrocketed and my elemental strength skyrocketed by 3 levels. However, I couldn't bear to break my tendons and veins, and my body exploded and I died. The probability is 50.5. This is also the meaning of gambling. Yi Wuque was already unable to think. His mind was engulfed by immense pain, and his body, sitting in a cross, was covered by the pale golden holy fighting energy of the Tao. Wild forces were released from his body, and his skin, flesh, tendons, and bone marrow seemed to be pouring oil into the fire, completely burning up. The medicinal power brought by the human-level explosive spirit pill, along with the golden blood and holy battle chi, converged into a powerful force that swam through Yi Wuqi's body. The periosteum trembled, and every bone was frantically squeezed, as if the pain of bone fracture was constantly occurring. Yi Wuque felt his bones constantly being crushed and instantly restored, constantly moving back and forth, making him want to die. The most crucial stage of refining the essence in the forging state also began in this arrogant and domineering way, with a feeling of pain 10 times stronger than before hitting the heart. If it weren't for the pain of condensing the source of the holy law just now, Yi Wuque would have lost consciousness at this moment. Holding on to the last glimmer of clarity in the spiritual platform, Yi Wuque endured hard, using his last thought to subconsciously activate the power of the golden red blood, holy path battle energy, and human-level explosive spirit pill. The endurance of the body and muscles has reached saturation, and if there is any carelessness in the future, it will be the result of exploding and dying. However, under intense pain, as if blessings were upon the soul, Yi Wuque gradually entered a wonderful realm, devoid of thought, as if sleeping in a dream. Although the pain was still intense, it was better than the feeling of life being better than death brought by the bone and marrow refining just now. At this moment, the gathered violent power arrived at Yi Wuqi's dantian and then rushed in with tremendous momentum. This power instantly came into contact with the fighting holy law source light group. Bang! The mysterious and pulsating source of the holy law originally ignored the power that ravaged Yi Wuqi's body, allowing it to change every inch of his flesh, muscles, and bone marrow. However, at this moment, this violent power seemed to have ended the training of Yi Wuqi's skin, flesh, tendons, and bone marrow, and instead rushed into the dantian. This action seemed to violate the dignity of the holy law source. The majestic, grand, and powerful aura of war surged out of the holy law source light group as soon as the raging force entered the dantian, and with a destructive force, it was introduced into the holy law source. It was swallowed up like a whale swallowing a cow's drink, and then re-released by the holy law source. The force that reappeared was no longer raging and plundering. Although still massive, it became gentle and delicate, rushing out of the dantian and back into Yi Wuqi's body, quietly nourishing and refining the skin, flesh, tendons, and bone marrow like a nourishing substance. Under the magical influence of the source of the holy law, Yi Wuque finally overcame the berserk power of the human-level explosive spirit pill. Yi Wuqi had no feeling for it at all. His whole mind was immersed in that wonderful realm, without any thoughts, and he naturally couldn't notice that his breath was gradually strengthening. The holy war energy and golden red blood returned to his physical body, accompanied by that gentle and delicate force, silently changing every part of Yi Wuqi's physical body. 5/5 of the gambling fate, Yi Wuque won the bet because of the origin of the holy law. Buzz and clatter, sitting inside the cave, Yi Wuque's whole body was radiant, and the divine soul space was also calm. The emptiness seemed to have lost all its breath, and the light golden light of the holy path's fighting energy enveloped it, as if forming a huge golden cocoon. Yi Wuque didn't know that on the day he broke free from his cocoon, there would be a huge surprise waiting for him. Time passes by bit, and there is no time for cultivation. There is no sound in the cave, and the rest is a sitting figure surrounded by a faint golden light. Roaming and rumbling, wow! The stunning water flows down, and the waterfall never stops flowing. However, on the shore downstream of the waterfall, there were two young figures opposing each other, one with fiery fists and a fiery red hue, looking 17 or 18 years old, the other person remained indifferent and independent, carrying a long sword, several years younger than the former. Behind the young man with fiery fists, there was a pale silver crescent moon dancing at the same height. This person was truly a powerful soul realm cultivator who condensed the soul moon. Feng Kai Chen, it is said that you are a genius of the heavenly zone in the main city of forging swords. You have amazing abilities in the field of swordsmanship, and can even fight higher levels. Why don't you show me today? The young man who had gathered his soul and moon with his fists like fire suddenly spoke out, his tone cold and mixed with a hint of jealousy, but beneath this jealousy was a sense of pleasure. The graceful minister in his mouth, the young man with a long sword on his back, had a cold and stern expression, standing with his hand down, exuding a brilliant aura, like a hidden and unextinguished sharpness. Feng Kai Chen's eyes flickered brightly, and he glanced at the young man with fiery fists. He spoke quietly, and his voice was incredibly clear. You don't deserve it. These 3 words fell in the ears of the young man who condensed the soul moon, as if thundering. I don't deserve it. Ha ha ha, I am Yu Qingfeng, a genius from the Purple Fire main city. At the age of 18, I gather my soul moon and step into the realm of washing the mortal spirit. My grace. How dare you say I don't deserve it? I see you are seeking death. Like a wild cat with its fur exploding, Yu Qingfeng suddenly burst into a fierce and angry laughter, as if the 3 words of Feng Kai Chen had hit the taboo in his heart, making him furious. Feng Kai Chen. Originally, I just wanted to play with you today and wait until the 100 Cities War to deal with you properly. I didn't expect you to provoke me. Well, this is the territory of the Dragon Light main city. Even if I kill you, no one will know. Let's suffer. Purple fire burning heavenly fist. Fire burning western heaven. Bang! Waves of fiery red elemental power rose from within Yu Qingfeng's body, and the soul moon behind him suddenly shone, burning a sea of flames all over his body. His fists carried a raging fire, transforming into 2 fire wheels, roaring towards Feng Kai Chen. Buzz! The intense heat seemed to ignite even a 10-foot space around him, and Yu Qingfeng's eyes flashed with a hint of pleasure. I want to see how you, who have a great and round body, can fight against me, the English soul realm that gathers the soul moon. Fighting over the level. Humph. It's just bullshit. The water vapor around Yu Qingfeng's fist made a sizzling sound, and the purple fire burning heavenly fist was already 1 zhang closer to Feng Kai Chen's body. Die. Yu Qingfeng let out a loud roar. Just as Yu Qingfeng was determined to receive a decisive blow, a faint roar suddenly sounded in his ear. In the next moment, he saw a beam of light that shone to the extreme. So fast. How could this be? It's impossible. With an extremely frightened face, Yu Qingfeng noticed the calm but sharp eyes of the sword-wielding youth across from him. Immediately, he felt a chill in his chest, but he was still a strong person in the realm of washing the mortal world. His cultivation was incredibly strong, and his elemental strength surged in his body, causing the flying blocks to retreat backwards. Wow! The water seemed to be stirred by a neat and sharp force. Yu Qingfeng stabilized his body, his face pale, and then transformed into a strong sense of humiliation. He was actually scared back by a cultivator who was only as strong and round as a forging body, which was unacceptable to the arrogant Yu Qingfeng. Buzz! The blazing elemental power was surging, and just as Yu Qingfeng was getting angry and ready to take another action, Feng Kai Chen spoke up. I can't even take a sword, you don't even have the qualification to fight me. Tear and pull! The martial shirt on his chest was torn open, and Yu Qingfeng's chest was covered in crimson. A wound about 2 inches long appeared on his chest. It is obvious that this was caused by the Grace Minister, and if it were not for his mercy, this sword would not have hurt only the skin and flesh. Bang! Bang! Just as Yu Qingfeng couldn't believe it, a huge sound suddenly came from a waterfall not far away, and water vapor overflowed. A powerful wave suddenly appeared. At the same time, a figure covered in pale golden elemental power leaped out of the waterfall and landed in the water downstream. For a moment, a huge downward force hit the water splashing. The pale golden elemental power slowly disappeared, revealing this person's appearance. His black long hair was fluttering, his eyes were shining, his face was handsome, and he carried a huge dark long box on his back. It was Wuque, who had completed the cultivation of the human-level explosive spirit pill. Obviously, he didn't expect two people to appear in front of him, but Wuqi was fearless in his heart. Standing still, he scanned and saw Yu Qingfeng with a gloomy face and a wounded chest. He also saw the floating and heavy light silver soul moon behind him, and his pupils immediately shrank. Soul moon, is this person a strong warrior in the soul realm of Xifaniying? However, at this moment, Wuqi had no fear in his heart, but was replaced by a desire for war. Suppressing the longing in his heart, his gaze swept towards another young man holding a sword, only to find that the young man holding a sword was also looking at him. The two eyes met, and a strange light flashed in the eyes of the graceful minister, as if he had discovered something interesting. This guy with a sword is not easy. Wuque also felt the strength of the graceful minister and the surging battle energy in his body. The joy of just breaking through slowly subsided after seeing these two people in front of him. Yu Qingfeng caressed his chest with his right hand, not even looking at Wuqi. He just stared at Feng Kaichen with a pair of eyes and said, "What a swordsmanship genius. Fight higher and higher. Fight higher and higher. Today you have learned, Feng Kaichen, you don't have to be proud. The 100 Cities battle is about to begin, and I will calculate today's accounts together with you." Whoosh, it seems like something came to mind. Yu Qingfeng was about to leave when he was running the elemental force. Coincidentally, the direction he was leaving was exactly the one Wuqi was standing in. Where did the trash come out? I'm looking for death. Injured by a sword from the Fengkai minister, Yu Qingfeng's anger was raging in his heart. He saw the sudden appearance of Wuqi blocking in front of him, and when his eyes were neutral, there was a fierce killing intent. Anger surged up, and his right fist was surrounded by fiery red elemental power, transforming into a fire wheel. He wants to vent his anger on Wuqi. Bang, be careful. Seeing Yu Qingfeng suddenly take action, Fengkai immediately spoke out to remind him. Great. Let me see how powerful the English soul realm is. Bomb, the holy war energy boiled up, and Wuqi's eyes were like a heavenly sword. His left fist wrapped around the pale golden war energy, forming a faint image of a tiger head, which collided directly with Yu Qingfeng's fist. In Yu Qingfeng's perception, the sudden appearance of Wuqi was just a cultivator in the physical training realm. Seeing that he dared to fight back, he couldn't help but sneer. But in the next moment, Yu Qingfeng's cold smile suddenly froze and turned into a deep fear that penetrated deep into his bones. Water splashed everywhere, and Yu Qingfeng felt an incredibly powerful force coming from the opponent's fist. This force was terrifying and shook him, causing his blood and energy to churn, and he was immediately injured. Pucci, unable to hold back a mouthful of blood, Yu Qingfeng's face was extremely frightened. His body flipped awkwardly in the air, changed direction, and rushed towards the other direction at the fastest speed, but his heart was filled with fear and bitterness. How could it be? How could it be? One punch would shock me. This is just a cultivator in the physical realm. Damn it. Damn it. Without time to think about it, Yu Qingfeng felt a chill and disappeared in a disheveled state into the vast mountains and forests. I wanted to vent my anger on someone, but I didn't expect to kick the iron plate. Feeling the power of his fist, Wuqi's heart was filled with excitement. Good, good. The human-level explosive spirit pill did not disappoint me as expected. Looking at this scene from beginning to end, the graceful minister's gaze towards Wuqi was no longer indifferent as before, but became incredibly sharp, as if he had only truly come to life at this moment. You are very powerful, my name is Fengkai Chen, and I am waiting for you in the 100 Cities battle. Leaving behind a sentence that left Wuqi inexplicable, the young swordsman also left. Fengkai Chen. Battle of 100 Cities. Interesting. I don't know how long it took to refine the human-level explosive spirit pill. It seems we need to go back as soon as possible. Although Yi Wuqi's words and experience were somewhat unexpected and strange, the harvest made him very satisfied. Buzz, the Holy Path's battle chi evaporated the water vapor from the marshal's shirt. Yi Wuqi, with his long and independent body, looked towards the direction of the Murong family and murmured to himself, "Blood Dragon Jade, this is what Fubo left for me. No one can take it away from me. Murong Tian, I, Yi Wuqi, have come." End of this chapter. 8. Chapter 8. Bring it back on your own. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Bring it back on your own. Murong family, performing martial arts. At this moment it is full of people belonging to the Murong family, from the clan leader Murong Chongqing and several senior elders to every young Murong son, all gathered in the martial arts arena. Surprise flashed across the faces of those young Murong children, who were discussing in groups of 3 or 2, as if something had happened that excited them. As they discussed, Dao Dao's gaze occasionally swept towards a figure sitting alone on the martial arts stage, filled with envy and excitement. Murong Binglan, who was surrounded in the center like stars and moons, also cast her beautiful eyes tightly onto the figure, but her bright red lips were tightly bitten by it. "Yi Wuqi, dare to humiliate me. You useless person, wait for me. Today is the day when Tiangang steps on you." The figure sat alone, with a light silver soul moon floating and sinking behind him, a powerful aura surging incessantly. His handsome face closed its eyes slightly, but the corners of its mouth slightly curled up. It was Murong Tian. At this moment, Murong Tian's heart is also filled with excitement and longing. "I didn't expect it. I thought we would have to wait another year, but the 100 Cities War, which lasted for nearly 100 years for 3 years, arrived earlier than expected. I am the first genius of the Murong family in the main city of Longguang, and among the spots representing Longguang in this 100 Cities War, I must be Murong Tian. As far as I know, anyone eligible to participate in the 100 Cities War among the top 100 main cities will receive a full training from the city lord, which will further enhance their strength before entering the battle. If they can achieve certain results in the 100 Cities War, they will also receive unexpected rewards." At this point, even Murong Tian, who had a cunning mind, couldn't help but tremble slightly. His tightly closed eyes suddenly opened, filled with a sense of surprise. However, it seemed that something had come to mind. Murong Tian's eyes flickered, becoming sinister and vicious. "It has been a month since Wuque made a pact with me, and whether he appears or not, I will get the Blood Dragon Jade. Once I obtain the creation in the Blood Dragon Jade and am trained by the Dragon Light City Lord, my realm and combat power will definitely skyrocket again. What is the small Murong family worth? This 100 cities battle is the moment when Murong Tian will become famous throughout the eastern land." Unlike the emotionally agitated Murong Tian, Murong Chongqing and several elders, who sat upright behind the martial arts stage, only had different expressions. Murong Baisher's old face was dry, and a pair of gloomy eyes surrounded his grandson Murong Tian's body on the martial arts arena, unable to see what was on his mind. And the head of the Murong family, Murong Chongqing, although he looked equally expressionless, his heart was also uneasy. How could the first grand event of the Eastern Land and the triennial 100 Cities battle be held ahead of schedule? 3 days ago, I received a message from the Lord of Longguang City, stating that he would visit my Murong family in 3 days. It seems that Murong Tian is indispensable in this round of quotas. As the head of the Murong family, Murong Chongqing's own descendants were eligible to participate in the 100 Cities War, and he naturally felt happy. However, when Murong Chongqing thought of another thing, his joy was greatly diluted. A month ago, Yi Wuque made a bet on Blood Dragon Jade to fight against Murong Tian, and today happens to be the day of the battle. Impeccable, what exactly is going on in your heart? With a sigh in his heart, Murong Chongqing, although very fond of Yi Wuqi, a child adopted by the Murong family since childhood, as the head of the Murong family, there are several pairs of eyes behind him, and some things cannot be determined based on his preferences. Murong Chongqing also remembered the words that the person had told him and the elders of the Murong family 10 years ago before leaving. This jade is called the Blood Dragon Jade, which will bring an unexpected creation to the cultivator who has just broken through the Shifan realm. It is something I have left for Wucheng. Please give it to him by the Murong family head when he is 18 years old or when he breaks through the Shifan realm. After saying these words, the person drifted away. If you were so kind to me privately, why would you give me this jade in front of everyone? Sigh, perhaps in your eyes, the dazzling young man at that time would naturally get it smoothly, but often things don't go according to people's wishes. Who would have thought of that child without any shortage? A few sighs made Murong Chongqing feel even more sorry for Yi Wuqi, but he couldn't keep the Blood Dragon Jade for Yi Wuqi. It is obvious that Murong Chongqing is also not optimistic about Yi Wuqi's appointment to fight against Murong Tian. In the sky a few miles east of Murong's house, two people were speeding through the air at this moment. One of them was a dignified middle-aged man with both hands behind his back, his gaze calm, and a faint aura of elemental power surrounded his body within 3 zhang. Within the range of this aperture, a girl with a cold temperament and stunning appearance followed closely behind. Their destination is exactly the direction where the Murong family is located. And in the air, 100 miles away from the two of them, a huge bird and beast spread its wings and walked forward. On the back of the bird and beast, 2 young figures sat upright. Sitting in front of him was a young man aged 15 or 16, dressed in a blue robe embroidered with a blue auspicious cloud. His eyes closed slightly, and his body was shrouded in the thick blue elemental power. He couldn't help but swallow the elemental power of heaven and earth, and a vast atmosphere rose up into the sky. Buzz, with a faint tremble, the young man in the green robe suddenly stood up from the back of the bird and beast. The swirling green elemental power slowly dissipated, revealing an unruly face. His gaze was as bright as a star, and his slender body was tall and powerful. At this moment, another person sitting behind the young man in a green robe opened their eyes. This is a peculiar woman, who looks like she is also 15 or 16 years old, but exudes a light spirit all over her body, as if she comes from above the 9 heavens. Her gaze is extremely indifferent, only flashing a slight wave as she sweeps past the young man in the green robe. Buzz, under the gaze of the agile woman, the aura of the young man in the green robe suddenly climbed to the extreme, and then his whole body trembled. A golden crescent moon appeared behind the young man in the green robe. Just as the golden crescent moon appeared behind the young man in the green robe, an elderly figure suddenly appeared on the tail of a bird, beast that had no third party. The old man was wearing a light yellow martial robe, with an ordinary figure and appearance, but a pair of seemingly flawless eyes seemed to have a faint light illusion. The old man's gaze turned towards the young man in a green robe, and an undisguised admiration and amazement emanated from within. The 7 great realms of Shifan. Young Master Lai, who is only 15 years old this year, has already entered the Tianchong realm of the 7th realm of Shifan. TSK, he is truly one of the most powerful disciples of the generation of the Divine Palace. If this trip goes smoothly, when young Master Lai reaches that realm in the future, he will have more confidence. Buzz, the bird and beast's wings fluttered at an incredibly fast speed. The young man in a blue robe stood with his hands down, his gaze fixed on the vast earth below. Immediately, his gaze narrowed, and a strange aura slowly flowed behind him, making the agile woman feel unfamiliar. It's been 10 years, and I never expected to come to Dongtu again. The battle back then left a deep impression on me, but I didn't expect you to be defeated. It really disappointed me. Time passed by bit, but everyone in the Murong family showed no impatience and still waited quietly. At this moment, Murong Chongqing's expression suddenly changed, his gaze cast towards the horizon, and he immediately stood up. Several elders beside him also noticed almost simultaneously, standing up again. A peaceful middle-aged man's laughter suddenly echoed in the ears of every Murong son present. Master Murong, don't come safely. The lord of this city is taking the liberty of visiting. Please take care of him, Master Murong. Ha ha ha. As soon as his voice fell, a middle-aged man appeared out of thin air on the martial arts arena, nodding in the direction of Murong Changqing. Ha ha ha, Lord Qi's words really hurt my Murong family. Lord Qi's visit to my Murong family is truly shining. Murong Changqing hugged his hand and bowed. The middle-aged man in front of him was Qi Shilong, the lord of Longguang City. While Qi Shilong was chatting with Murong Changqing, the younger generation of the Murong family's attention was focused on the cold and stunning girl who appeared with Qi Shilong. Oh my goodness! Who is this woman? She looks so beautiful. You ignorant guys, she doesn't even know that this is Miss Lin Yingluo from the Lin family, one of the three major families in the main city of Longguang. Lin Yingluo. Is she the Lin Yingluo who forged a large and round body to defeat the three major opponents of the same rank and ultimately won? Strong in strength, and not inferior in appearance to Miss Binglan. What a goddess! Murong Binglan, who was originally surrounded by numerous Murong children like stars and moons, heard these discussions and looked at Lin Yingluo, who had a cold temperament. Her red lips curled and she tasted a bit of food. What's so amazing? Humph. Lin Yingluo seemed to have not heard a word about the discussion of Murong's children, her cold eyes scanning around, and finally fixed on Murong Tian who stood up from the martial arts stage. Seeing Lin Yingluo's gaze sweep over, Murong Tianqin's mind was lifted and he showed a perfect smile. Behind him, the pale silver soul moon leaped and danced, just like Lin Yingluo's gaze. Lin Yingluo, who had no expression on her face, only glanced at Murong Tian and then withdrew her gaze, which made Murong Tian feel a bit embarrassed for a moment. After some pleasantries, Qi Shilong went straight to the topic. Master Murong, this is the first major event in our eastern land, the 100 Cities War, which has started ahead of schedule. The lord of this city has received orders from the first city, and I, Longguang, will have 3 spots this time. The lord of this city has no children and is alone. Coincidentally, Longguang has 3 major families, and these 3 spots will naturally be selected by your 3 major families. Immediately, Qi Shilong looked at Lin Yingluo and smiled. This little girl from the Lin family is one. Where is Murong Tian from your Murong family? Upon hearing Qi Shilong's question, Murong Changqing smiled back and said, Tianer has been waiting here long ago for the city lord to arrive. Upon hearing Qi Shilong mention his name, Murong Tian immediately clasped his fists and bowed, answering in a deep voice, if you return to the city lord, Murong Tian is here. Oh. You are Murong Tian. Well, at a young age, you gathered the soul moon and stepped into the first realm of the 7 great realms of washing the fan, the Ying Soul realm. Your talent is indeed quite good. Qi Shilong praised Murong Tian. Thank you, Lord. Murong Tian has the opportunity to participate in the 100 Cities War. It was the Lord who gave me this opportunity. Murong Tian is extremely grateful. Standing behind Murong Changqing, Murong Baisher is now smiling like a chrysanthemum on his old face. If he can receive the cultivation of the Dragon Light City Lord, Murong Tian's strength will further improve, and perhaps another breakthrough is not impossible. You should know that even among all the city lords in the top 100 main cities of Dongtu, Qi Shilong, the lord of Longguang City, ranks in the top 10 in cultivation. It is said that Qi Shilong has already broken through the 7 realms of washing fan and reached another level. However, the heads of the 3 major families in the main city of Longguang are all in the Tianchong realm of the 7th realm of the 7 great realms of Shifan. Well, the little girl from the Lin family, and you, are just short of the last one from the Sima family. Murong Tian, you and the little girl from the Lin family will come with me to the Sima family again. When you 3 gather together, the lord of this city will do his best to cultivate you for a month. 1 month later, it will be the day of the 100 Cities War. This sentence fell in Murong Tian's ear, making him ecstatic. However, Murong Tian suppressed his joy and took a deep breath before speaking, everything is solely under the command of the city lord, but Murong Tian has one more thing to ask for. Murong Tian's words made the entire Murong family feel a bit strange for a moment. At such a critical juncture, do Murong Tian have any further requirements? Upon hearing Murong Tian's words, Murong Baisher's eyes flashed with a hint of mystery, while Murong Changqing felt a faint sense of unease in his heart. Oh! You three fought for my dragon light and won honor for me. The lord of this city will naturally try his best to meet your demands. What are your requirements? Qi Shilong did not refuse Murong Tian's request, but smiled slightly and agreed. Qi Shilong's reaction caused the last stone in Murong Tian's heart to fall, and the language that had already been organized in his heart was now fully revealed. If I were to return to the city lord, Murong Tian's request was to plead with the city lord to retrieve something belonging to me from the family lord. This item is unique to my Murong family and, in conjunction with my Murong family's biography of Haotian power, can greatly increase my combat power in a short period of time. However, 10 years ago, this item had to be promised to another person because the family lord owed someone a favor. Speaking of this, Murong Tian sneered in his heart, Yi Wuque, your blood dragon jade. From now on, blood dragon jade will be my Murong Tian's property. Upon hearing Murong Tian's words, Murong Changqing's face immediately darkened. It was obvious that he had not anticipated that Murong Tian would say this at this moment. Moreover, describing the blood dragon jade as belonging to the Murong family completely reverses right and wrong. Just as Murong Changqing was preparing to deny it, Murong Baisher was the first to speak up. Lord Qi, what Tianer said is true. I know that the master of the house has a kind heart, and because he owed someone a favor in the past, he couldn't help but promise this item to a boy who had already been invalidated. But now that the 100 Cities War is about to begin, every point Tianer gets stronger will also lead to better results in the 100 Cities War. I also ask Lord Qi to speak up for Tianer to reclaim this item. Changqing, you are the head of the Murong family. Murong Tian's face was full of smiles, and the victory was in his grasp. Murong Baisher's words fell into the ears of Qi Shilong. Murong Baisher's words made Murong Changqing's heart boil with anger, but he had to admit that the two of his ancestors' and grandchildren's words at this time completely deviated from the direction that Murong Tian had hoped for. Moreover, as the head of the Murong family, Murong Baisher's last words were clearly meant for him, which caused Murong Changqing to fall into silence for a moment. Should we take care of a waste or fulfill the hope of the Murong family? After listening to the two of them, Qi Shilong naturally didn't know the reason behind it, but if he could sit as the lord of a city, how could Qi Shilong be an ordinary person? He smiled and said to Murong Changqing, Master Murong, this was originally your Murong family's family matter. The lord of this city shouldn't have intervened, but at this moment it is related to the 100 Cities battle. So the lord of this city has to speak up. I only ask you two questions, Master Murong. Firstly, in whose hands will this item play a greater role? Secondly, can the person you promise to use this item now? Two questions were asked, and Qi Shilong waited patiently to answer. At this moment, the entire Murong family fell into silence, seemingly waiting for Murong Changqing's answer. Suppressing the anger in his heart, Murong Changqing made a decision and let out a long sigh, as the city lord said, this involves some old things. It is indeed best to give it to Tianer now. However, this item is not. Before Murong Changqing could finish speaking, suddenly a clear long whistle came from afar. Uncle Changqing, bring back everything you need yourself. Murong Tian, on a January promise, Yi has arrived today. If you still want face, come and fight. The pale golden elemental power enveloped his body, and at this moment, Yi Wuqi finally arrived. The young man had a dark box on his back, like an unsheathed sword, exuding a magnificent and boundless aura. Is it useless without deficiency? It's useless without deficiency. He really appeared. That's right, I thought he wouldn't dare come. What's on his back? What do you care about him? What if he comes? He's not asking for trouble. Upon seeing Yi Wuque's sudden appearance, Murong Tian's face darkened and a chill flashed in his eyes. Yi Wuque, I didn't expect you, a useless person, to really dare to come. I originally wanted to effortlessly get the blood dragon jade, but since you're trying to kill me, then no one can blame me. Lord, this person is a waste who snatched what originally belonged to me. Today, he appeared, and I will fight him openly. The winner will receive the blood dragon jade. Please be the Lord's witness. Buzz, the pale silver soul moon leaps and beats, Murong Tian beats his whole body's cultivation, and the powerful waves of the washing fanning soul realm sweep across the area. Dong, the rushing Yi Wuqi stepped on the ground, jumped up high, and swept onto the martial arts arena, facing Murong Tian from a distance of 10 zhang away. The scene before us happened extremely quickly, beyond everyone's expectations. Murong Baisher's face sank, and Murong Chongqing sighed inwardly, well, this is his own choice. Let him go. If he loses, I will ensure his safety and safety in this life. Qi Shilong was slightly surprised at the moment. He looked at the young man who suddenly appeared and his heart moved. Yi Wuqi, is that the kid who caused a huge storm 10 years ago? It said that he's useless, but now it seems that it's not as rumored. Yi Wuque, the blood dragon jade will be my Murong heavenly possession from now on, and you, rest assured to be your waste. Malicious and indifferent words rang out from Murong Tian's mouth, and white elemental power filled his body. He stared at Yi Wuqi's gaze as if he were looking at another mole ant. At this moment, Murong Binglan, who was performing martial arts, clenched her delicate hands into a fist. Her tightly bitten red lips turned white, and a hint of evil energy flashed on her delicate face. She stared fixedly at Yi Wuqi and said, Brother Tian, deal with him hard. There was nothing else in his eyes, and his heart was filled with passion. Yi Wuque's expression was solemn, and his golden and red blood flowed slowly. The fighting spirit of the holy way surged endlessly. Murong Tian, I, Yi Wuque, have arrived. Blood dragon jade, I'll take back what belongs to me myself. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Tiangang Youlong Hand. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Tiangang Youlong Hand, Buzz, a strong elemental force emanated from within the Murong's celestial body, and an astonishing momentum instantly surged up. The sinister intent in his eyes flashed away, and Murong Tian had already decided that he would step on the other trash in the shortest possible time and in the most ruthless way. So, when you make a move, it's merciless. Di Shahu Ben Fist, roar, the shocking roar of a tiger emerged from the sky, and Murong Tian's face was fierce. Accompanied by this roar, his whole body surged with a fierce momentum. Behind him, the image of a fierce tiger engulfed him, as if a colorful tiger hidden in the deep mountains suddenly pounced and came out to devour people. Buzz, the powerful fluctuations of elemental power swept across the entire martial arts stage, and Murong Tian's move immediately revealed his strength. Waste. Lie down for me. The colorful image of a fierce tiger transformed by Murong Tian, carrying a terrifying force that tore everything apart, rushed towards Yi Wuque. As if in the next moment, Yi Wuqi is about to be torn apart by this force. So strong. This Murong Tian is incredibly strong. Is this the power that condenses spiritual moon possesses to step into the realm of washing the mortal realm? Just this first move, how can Shao Cheng, who relies on the 5 heavenly refining muscles of the forged body with no deficiency, block it? Murong's children were filled with cries of surprise, and at this moment, they were all shocked by the power of Murong Tian. Murong Chongqing's face remained expressionless, but his heart secretly tightened. Murong Tian was very strong, and he naturally knew that this first move was already eye-catching. In his understanding, Yi Wuqi was sure to lose this move. Unlike Murong Chongqing's expressionless face, Murong Baisher sneered in his heart at this moment. Cleaning up Wuque, a useless person, was as simple as crushing an ant for his precious grandson. Roar, feeling the colorful image of a fierce tiger transformed by Murong Tian, Wuque still stood tall and independent at this moment, his face indifferent, but his gaze surprisingly bright. As expected, Murong Tian is stronger than the cultivator I forced to retreat from the Shifaning Soul Realm with a punch in Shirgu Forest. But what's going on here? Murong Tian, today I will defeat you with 2 fists. Buzz, and clatter, his eyes were like a knife, and Wuque's black hair fluttered. He took a big step forward, and a faint golden elemental power instantly swirled around his whole body. The Holy Path's fighting energy sprayed out, and the golden red energy and blood surged incessantly, providing him with an endless source of massive combat power. Faced with the punch from Murong Tian, Wuqi chose to launch a strong attack. No avoidance, no concession. He wants to see how he feels compared to Murong Tian at this moment. Or rather, he needs to see how strong he has become after successfully refining the human-level explosive spirit pill. Di Shahu Ben Fist. Roar, another thunderous tiger roar echoed through the entire martial arts arena. In the eyes of everyone, Wuque also hit the Disha Tiger Ben Fist, merging with the image of a fierce tiger behind him, transforming into a golden tiger. In an instant, he collided with the colorful tiger rushing towards him. Roar, bang, hum, 2 powerful elemental forces, one white and one gold, collided and erupted in astonishing waves, instantly flooding the entire martial arts stage. However, in that moment, both Murong Chongqing and Murong Baisher's faces changed greatly. A hint of interesting light flashed through the quiet and independent Qi Shilongan. Standing behind Qi Shilong, Lin Yingluo's cold eyes also moved. In the area where Murong's children are located, Murong Hai clenches his fists tightly, his gaze fixed on the martial arts stage, his heart churning like a huge wave, his eyes bloodshot. A hint of pleasure flashed across Murong Binglan's delicate and pretty face, leaving only a harsh voice in her heart. Wuqi. It's time for you, a useless person, to pay the price. Just as everyone's gaze was focused on the martial arts stage, the 2 elemental powers, one white and one gold, finally dissipated. The strong fluctuations slowly stopped, and the 2 figures suddenly retreated back from each other. Dong dong dong, one of the figures took a full 4 steps back before stopping their form, with shock and disbelief flashing in their eyes. It was Murong Tian. And another figure retreated back in the same posture, taking 4 steps to stabilize its figure. It was Wuqi. Unlike the shocked Murong Tian, Wuque's heart was extremely hot at this moment, and his dazzling eyes were shining to the extreme. Just now, under this blow, he realized that he and Murong Tian were evenly matched. Hiss, the sound of inhaling one after another echoed one after another. Did I get dizzy? Fei Wuque actually blocked Murong Tian's punch. And it doesn't seem to be injured. Impossible. Murong Tian is a cultivator in the mortal realm. Murong's children immediately exploded and couldn't believe what was happening before them. The numbness emanating from his arms reminded Murong Tian that what had just happened was true. The waste from the Murong family across from him, who had been abandoned for 10 years, actually took a blow from Murong Tian. This is impossible. Just now, my punch was like a full punch from a forging body. How could this useless person possibly take it down? I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Looking at Wuque standing across from him unharmed, Murong Tian's anger was greater than his shock. He couldn't believe that Wuque could take a punch from him. His handsome face twisted slightly at this moment, and the immense white elemental power poured out. Bang! His figure became blurry, and Murong Tian made another move. He couldn't accept everything just now, so this time, he wanted to completely defeat Wuqi. Okay. Come on, Murong Tian. Wuqi, who took on Murong Tian's punch, was filled with excitement. He knew that he had become much stronger by refining the human-level explosive spirit pill, but he didn't expect to have reached such a state. Forged body full and round. Refining marrow is a great achievement. This is the realm that Yi Wuqi is currently in. In a month's time, from the small achievement of refining tendons in the 5 heavens of forging body to the great achievement of refining marrow in the great perfection of forging body. Unconsciously, Yi Wuque had already begun to become powerful, and his path to strength was finally reopened after 10 years of silence. This time, no one can stop it. Bang, bang rumble, 2 figures intertwined on the martial arts stage, surging energy overflowing everywhere, and the large and round fluctuations of the forging body almost surpassed all Murong's children. So, at this moment, almost all Murong's children were holding their breath and staring intently at the 2 figures on the martial arts stage. However, their gaze that swept over Yi Wuqi was no longer disdainful or contemptuous, but replaced by shock, envy, and a hint of fear. Murong Hai clenched his fists tightly, and the scar on his left face shook violently. His eyes flashed with unwillingness and fear, and in the end, his fists were powerless to release. His eyes were extremely dim, and he knew that from now on, he would never be qualified to stand opposite these 2 people on the martial arts stage. Because these 2 people could easily cripple him with just one punch. Who? Her full chest heaved violently, and Murong Binglan's beautiful eyes were full of fear. Her heart was filled with a sense of shock that could not be calmed for a long time. She couldn't understand how Yi Wuqi, such a useless person, could and could not fight his heavenly brother to such an extent. All right. This stinky kid Wuqi is hiding so much. Even I don't know. Forging body is full. 15-year-old forging body is full. Stinky kid. Ha ha ha. From the moment he saw Yi Wuque and Murong Tian's first strike, Murong Chongqing immediately sensed Yi Wuque's cultivation at this moment, which surprised him immensely. He immediately believed that this was Yi Wuque hiding his clumsiness. Although he didn't know the reason, it was no longer important. The comforting Murong Chongqing looked at Yi Wuqi's gaze with increasing pity. Murong Baisher's old face crowded together, his gloomy gaze fixed on Yi Wuqi, with a hint of coldness flashing through his eyes. The originally secure battle was unexpectedly unpredictable. A waste that has been abandoned for 10 years suddenly exploded. At the age of 15, the forging body is full and round, and at the age of 15, the forging body is full and round. Murong Baisher silently recited in his heart, and at this moment, a hint of killing intent flashed through his heart. Qi Shilong stood with his hands down and an extraordinary demeanor. He glanced with interest at the 2 of them fighting fiercely on the martial arts stage, but his gaze was more focused on Yi Wuqi. What an interesting little guy. Lin Yingluo's cold eyes only looked at Yi Wuqi. As the top genius of the Lin family in the main city of Dragonlight, Lin Yingluo's vision and insight were naturally extraordinary. At this moment, this young man named Yi Wuque caught her attention. Lin Yingluo, who was 15 years old and had a round physique, didn't pay much attention. What she cared about was the combat power displayed by Yi Wuque at this moment. Although Murong Tian also fought with his forging body full, he was already a cultivator in the mortal realm. However, Yi Wuqi was able to fight against him without falling behind, which is enough to prove his strength. Moreover, Lin Yingluo vaguely noticed that the young man seemed to have not exerted all his strength yet, and he seemed to be hiding. Bang, double fists bombard, unleashing a powerful force. The 2 figures suddenly separate and merge, and the 2 elemental forces surge endlessly. Murong Tian's actions are merciless, his angles are cunning, and he even occasionally suppresses others with the foundation of washing the mortal realm, and he does not spare others when he gains power. Yi Wuqi opened and closed wide, seemingly possessing amazing combat intuition. He was calm and composed, capable of both offense and defense. Difficult. These 2 words appeared in Murong Tian's heart as he fought and became more and more frightened. Through this series of battles, although he was unwilling, he had to admit that the young man he called useless had a strong killing power in his body and a keen sense of combat, which made Murong Tian feel a faint chill. Murong Tian realized that with his great and rounded cultivation, he couldn't help but feel helpless about Wuque. Instead, if he continued to fight like this, he would even be defeated by him. This idea startled him, but he had to admit it. Looking at Youlong standing with his hands down, in order to avoid long dreams at night, Murong Tian's eyes became sharp and he decided to take action with all his might. Roaming and rumbling, Wuque suddenly felt an extremely powerful wave erupt from Murong Tian, with white elemental power surging up and Murong Tian's entire aura changing. If the previous Murong Tian only made Wuque feel powerful, then what Murong Tian is showing now is unfathomable. Buzz, with a shock all over his body, Murong Tian's eyes moved, and suddenly a bright light rose from behind, a pale silver light rising up. Soul Moon. This unique symbol belonging to the cultivators of Shifan realm appeared behind Murong Tian. The light silver soul moon floats and sinks, elusive, on par with others, but emits an aura that leaves Wuque feeling unpredictable. After a month and a half behind him, Murong Tian's breath also underwent a qualitative change at this moment, with the elemental power floating and sinking in his body, and a dazzling white light shining from top to bottom. At this moment, Murong Tian's gaze also became indifferent, sweeping towards Wuque. Are you finally going to give it your all? Wuque's face was solemn, and he could naturally distinguish Murong Tian's current state. Looking at that round of soul moon, Wuque felt the power of the washing fan realm, but his heart remained fearless and fearless. With an electric gaze, Wuque murmured to himself, so. I'm going to do my best too. No one knows that this 15-year-old boy did not fully unleash his abilities in the previous battles. Wuque, I have to admit that you have indeed hidden deep enough. Although you have a strong cultivation, you are willing to be called a waste for 10 years. But I will let you know that the gap between the washing fan realm and the forging body realm, I will let you know what despair is. Blood Dragon Jade, still only belongs to me, Murong Tian. The indifferent words echoed throughout the entire martial arts arena, with Murong Tian's hands slightly open. Behind him, the pale silver soul moon shook, and a wave several times stronger than before emerged in the air. At the same time, Murong Tian's hands were filled with waves and a blurry phantom slowly appeared around them. In the eyes of all Murong's children, the blurry phantom seemed like a dragon. Top grade skill. Tiangang Youlong hand. End of this chapter. 10, Chapter 10 Battle. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Fierce Battle. Ow, a voice that sounded even more domineering than the roar of a tiger sounded faintly beside Murong Tian. Wuque's eyes narrowed as he could clearly distinguish that it was a dragon chant. Tiangang Youlong hand. The top-notch skill is a unique skill of the Murong family, combined with the mid-level skill of Haotian power. It cannot be learned by anyone other than the head of the family or the first genius. It is obvious that Murong Tian was taught this unique skill. Buzz, as far as Wuque could see, two slender dragon shadows, about 1 foot long, slowly surrounded Murong Tian's hands. Murong Tian's divine expression was solemn. Obviously, even for him who was already in the realm of Shifan Ingso, this top-notch skill was not something he could use casually. As the white elemental power continued to surge, a domineering and fierce energy overflowed out. Roar, the holy spirit of war was surging, and the golden and red blood was surging. The golden image of a fierce tiger slowly formed behind Wuque. Wuque understood that at this moment, Murong Tian had already exerted all his strength and no longer had any reservations. Wuque has heard of the heavenly gang dragon hand, and as a unique skill of the Murong family, its power is naturally powerful. The level of top-notch skills is one level higher than that of mid-level skills, and their power is naturally incomparable. It is said that when Murong Chongqing was still a teenager, as the first genius of the Murong family at that time, he went out to experience and once used this heavenly gang dragon wandering hand to tear apart two enemies of the same level who only possessed intermediate skills. For the past decade, Wuqi has been focused on refining the origin of the holy fighting technique. Therefore, for his ultimate combat skills, he only learned the Di Sha Hu Ben fist. Currently, Murong Tian is using his cultivation in washing the Fanning Soul Realm to use the Tiangang Youlong hand, which makes Wuqi have to take it seriously. Roar, the golden image of a fierce tiger, is unstoppable in its power, and Wuque mobilizes all the holy fighting energy in his body to fully concentrate the killing move of the Earth Demon Tiger Ben Fist. The tiger shatters the world. The increasingly loud dragon chant spread throughout the martial arts arena, and Murong Tian's ruthless and indifferent eyes suddenly moved, followed by a flash of green energy in his open hands. Ow! After a dragon chant, Murong Tian's hands were surrounded by green air and transformed into 2 dragon claws. Wuqi. This time, I'll see how you block it. Bang! Under his feet, Murong Tian unleashed a gust of wind, his claws tearing fiercely, and a sharp and full breath instantly echoed around him. The blue dragon claws rushed straight towards Wuqi. The sharp aura that rushed towards Wuqi made his face ache. Despite his heavy heart, Wuqi still raised his fist slightly, unleashing the extremely powerful Di Sha Hu Ben fist with all his might. Bang! Dong! The pale golden fist and the blue dragon claw intersected fiercely, and Murong Tian, who was fighting with all his might, was at least several times stronger than him just now. The blue dragon claw transformed by Tiangang Youlong's hand, with its deadly sharpness, constantly tore towards Wuqi. The Tiangang Youlong hand truly deserves to be a top-notch skill. Coupled with Murong Tian's full strength, it is indeed powerful. The golden image of the fierce tiger behind him trembled incessantly, and the holy fighting spirit in his body was constantly injected by Wuque. The pale golden fists struggled to resist the attack of the blue dragon claws. Defeat it. Wuqi. Under my Murong Tian's command, you won't have any chance. Murong Tian, who was in power but did not spare others, felt his own strength and Wuqi's awkward posture of retreating step by step, and he couldn't help but sneer in his heart. Just now, I was just playing with you. Do you think you really can fight me? Haha. Give it to me. Ah! Bang! The blue dragon claws suddenly turned into 2 remnants, breaking through Wuqi's fists and grabbing straight at his chest. Capturing Murong Tian's sudden move, Wuque's face slightly changed and he turned to dodge. However, at this moment, Murong Tian's quick movements made him barely dodge a direct blow. The blue dragon claw heavily grabbed Wuqi's shoulder. Bang! The green energy flashed away, and Wuque immediately took 3 steps back under this claw, leaving a bloody wound on his right shoulder. Humph! Seeing that Wuqi had dodged his most secure claw, Murong Tian's face darkened and he let out a cold snort. Originally, this claw could have solved Wuqi. I just said, as long as Murong Tian shows his true abilities, how could Wuque be Murong Tian's opponent? Strong. That's so strong. Tiangang Youlong hand. Is this the strongest combat skill of our Murong family? I must learn it. Dream it for you. However, Wuqi is sure to lose. Murong's children, who closely watched the battle situation, naturally saw that Wuqi was already in a losing position at this time. It was only a matter of time before Murong Tian could solve him. Sigh, there's no shortage, just do your best. Murong Changqing sighed in his heart, and Wuqi suddenly exploded, making Murong Changqing very happy. However, it was still too difficult to defeat Murong Tian in the Shifan Ingso realm with this. Tian Gu. That's it. Defeat this useless person. Defeat him. Seeing Wuque being forced to retreat step by Murong Tian, Murong Binglan was extremely excited. She seemed to have already seen Wuque's embarrassed appearance stepped on by Murong Tian. Lin Yingluo's eyes flickered with hesitation, and she began to doubt whether her earlier inference about Wuqi was correct. Qi Shilong still looked calm and indifferent, unsure of what he was thinking. The waves of pain emanating from his shoulders stimulated Wuqi's nerves, but his expression remained unchanged and his gaze remained astonishingly bright. It seems that I was able to push back the cultivator from the Shifan Ingso realm in Shigu forest with a single punch. It must have been the young swordsman who had already injured him first. Although the cultivator attacked me, he did not exert all his strength. More importantly, Murong Tian was even stronger than that cultivator, so there must be a difference in strength within the Shifan Ingso realm. With the blessing of the Soul Moon, the combat power of Xifaning's soul realm is fully unleashed. Coupled with the top-grade unique skill of Tiangang Youlong hand, Murong Tian is already several times stronger than his opponent. With the combat power I have shown so far, he is indeed not his opponent. Wuque calmly analyzed the situation before him, although his defeat seemed to be gradually revealed, he had no worries at all. In this way, I should also play my trump card. A dazzling light flashed in his eyes, and Wuque pondered in his heart. Buzz, the Holy Spirit of War surged fiercely, with strong and violent fluctuations sweeping through. Kong once said that when I condense into the source of the Holy Dharma, the elemental power I cultivate is no longer ordinary elemental power, but the Holy Tao War Qi. Its killing power is 10 times that of ordinary elemental power, and when I condense it, it is also 10 times that of ordinary elemental power. However, due to cultivation limitations, I cannot fully unleash it. However, after taking the human-level explosive spirit pill, my cultivation skyrocketed, and after refining the human-level explosive spirit pill for a month, I gained a preliminary understanding of how to use the source of the holy dharma of fighting. Now is an opportunity, give it a try. The golden and red qi and blood blend seamlessly with the holy battle qi. At this moment, Wuqi will no longer retain it and fully utilize his internal cultivation. Buzz, and boom, the pale golden aura of holy war swirled around and almost completely engulfed Wuqi. The scene in front of Murong Tian was slightly surprised, but then he sneered, pretending to be a ghost. You've wasted enough time, it's time to end it. Ow! The green energy transformed into dragon claws accompanied the dragon's chant, and Murong Tian made another move. Tiangang Youlong hand. Green dragon claw. Drumming his whole body, his cultivation was shattered by 2 green dragon claws, and he quickly bombarded Wuqi, who was submerged by the pale golden elemental power. It's over, Wuqi, blood dragon jade has finally arrived. Ha! Roar! Just as Murong Tian was holding on to the winning ticket, he suddenly felt that the green dragon claws he had transformed into were blocked by a powerful force. Even in the next moment, he could feel the limits of a magnificent battle. It's like seeing a great god of war towering above the river of time and space under the starry sky. What's going on here? Murong Tian, who was in a daze before his eyes, quickly regained consciousness with a sharp look in his eyes, and his blue dragon claws stirred him with all their might. Break it! Bang! After a loud collision, Murong Tian, with a hint of suspicion, swept his body backwards. At this moment, he saw Wuqi, who had dissipated the pale golden elemental power. Buzz, black hair fluttering, standing tall, with a strong posture, eyes like knives, and a faint golden radiance swirling all over his body, Wuqi at this moment brings an extremely unfamiliar feeling to Murong Tian. Magnificent momentum. From Wuqi's body, Murong Tian seemed to feel the dazed aura he had just experienced. The origin of the holy method of fighting. Indeed, it did not disappoint me. The sense of strength emanating from within Wuqi's body brought great joy to his heart, as he could feel his current strength. Overcoming challenge. The reason why Kong said Wuque has the qualification to challenge beyond the level is because of the existence of the origin of the holy law of fighting. Now, Wuqi has finally used the fighting holy law for the first time. By maximizing the power of the Holy Way's battle energy and rapidly pouring it into the elixir field, I will temporarily awaken the source of the fighting holy law and receive feedback from it. Then, the Holy Way's battle energy will rush out of the elixir field and return to my physical body. I can gain several times more power than before. Originally, I used to refine a human-level explosive spirit pill, but my cultivation level should have only increased by 3 levels, reaching a small level of 9 heavenly refining essence in forging body. However, now I have climbed to the sky and directly promoted to forging body great perfection. It seems that this is also the source of the fighting holy law that has played a role. This fighting holy law source is really a mysterious and unpredictable thing. The thoughts in his heart churned, but it was only an instant. Now was not the time to ponder these things. Wuque suppressed his thoughts and looked at Murong Tian, forging his body and gaining several times the strength. Although he had not yet condensed his soul moon and stepped into the realm of washing the mortal world, he now possessed a power comparable to that of washing the mortal realm. This time, Wuqi has a 10% chance of defeating Murong Tian. Roar, the Shahu Ben fist was once again struck by Wuque, surrounded by the golden image of a fierce tiger. Ha! The Shahu Ben fist seems to be much stronger than before. Wuque clearly felt that the Shahu fist seemed to have undergone some kind of mutation, and its power became even stronger. Damn it! Tiangang Youlong hand. Qinglong detects claw. For some reason, upon seeing Wuque take the initiative to attack and kill, Murong Tian felt a hint of danger from him, which made Murong Tian feel a bit embarrassed and angry. Roar, ow, bang, dong, the intense bombardment of the pale golden tiger fist and the blue dragon claw was astonishing, and everything that happened on the martial arts stage made everyone's nerves tense again. They didn't understand why Wuque, who had previously been defeated and had already been exposed, suddenly became lively again, and even engaged in endless battles with Murong Tian, who was full of combat power. Dong, impossible. How could that be? He's just forging his body to perfection, how could he resist my attack? I'm a cultivator in the washing world realm. The blue dragon claw landed on the light gold tiger fist, but lost the feeling of hitting hard just now. A majestic aura surrounded Wuque, who now unleashed cultivation and strength no weaker than him, even stronger than him. Tiger shatters the world. Open up. With a loud shout, Wuque's black hair danced wildly, and his whole body erupted with a powerful aura of holy fighting spirit. His golden and red blood surged like the Yangtze River. 3 steps turned into one, and the pale golden tiger fist shook the surroundings. In Murong Tian's frightened eyes, it also hit Murong Tian's shoulder. Dong dong dong, this punch was incredibly powerful, and Murong Tian immediately felt a terrifying force sweep from his shoulder into his body, shaking his blood and energy, making his eyes turn black. How dare you hit me? Wuqi. You want to die? Qinglong tore the sky apart. Ow, behind him, the soul moon trembled, and Murong Tian's whole body was swayed in cultivation. The blue dragon claws emitted a faint blue light, instantly transforming into 3 feet in size and attacking Wuque. Good time. With a dazzling gaze, Wuqi unleashed another punch. Faced with Murong Tian's powerful Tiangang Youlong hand that could shatter a small mountain, Wuqi fiercely raised his fist and unleashed his strongest attack. The 2 powerful forces of bang and buzz were unleashed, and if it weren't for the efforts of several elders around the martial arts stage to maintain them, they would have been in a state of disrepair and unable to fight anymore. Murong Tian. This time, let's see who can defeat who. Wuque became more and more brave in battle, with a magnificent momentum like a rainbow. The majestic fighting spirit brought by the Holy Way's fighting spirit made his state reach its best. Wuqi. You don't have to be proud. The one who wins will ultimately be me, Murong Tian. Ow, faced with Wuqi at this moment, Murong Tian finally put aside all his contempt and mobilized all his strength from top to bottom. He unleashed the Heavenly Gang Dragon Quest to the extreme. Behind Murong Tian, where the pale silver soul moon was located, a 3-zhang-sized blue dragon appeared, ferocious but emitting a powerful wave. The green dragon devours the sky. Murong Tian teamed up with the dragon and delivered the strongest blow. He wants one move to determine the winner. Is one move sure of victory or defeat? Alright. Dish a Huban fist. Suppress it for me. Roar, Yi Wuqi and the golden tiger merged into one, transforming into a three-zhang golden tiger, and with a majestic momentum, they attacked Murong Tian. Ow, roar, the golden ferocious tiger and the blue dragon roared with thunderous force in one place. With this move, the outcome is clear. End of this chapter.